Chapter 1146. Where is this? The surroundings suddenly lit up, and snow began to fall. It was completely different from the land of forgotten rivers from before. It should be your dream. Dong Jiexan narrowed his eyes, and the nine-star sword returned to his hand as he said in a cold voice, "It could also be your obsession." Luo Qingshan frowned. She was not familiar with the scene in front of her at all. There was almost nothing in the dream, and it was always snowing. The snow that never melted all year round, until a beautiful red spider lily bloomed from the snow, blooming bit by bit. Everywhere he went, people were plunged into misery and suffering. Your obsession is quite boring. Dong Jiexan's eyebrows relaxed, and a faint smile appeared on his face. For some reason, he had been a bit nervous when he wanted to see her dream. He was afraid that someone would appear in the dream that shouldn't appear. But it seemed like there was nothing. In the next second, he held the sword in his right hand, and the nine-star sword in his hand changed into a white nine-pointed star. Golden light filled the sky, and the illusion was broken. You actually broke the blood demon illusion array so quickly. Luo Qingshan looked at Dong Jiexan in disbelief. After all, the previous host was very clear on how strong the blood demon illusion array was. Although she had never entered Feng Wuji's blood demon illusion array, she knew that Feng Wuji had become Luo Zhuxin's right-hand man with this array and had a status below tens of thousands of people in the Demon Shadow Palace. During the Great War of Gods and Demons 1,000 years ago, he had used the blood demon illusion array to kill countless righteous people. However, Dong Jiexan did not participate in that battle. Everything in his surroundings seemed to have returned to normal. The sky gradually opened up, and the demonic aura gradually dissipated. There was only a small dark red area covered by a barrier. It seemed like the person Luo Yao you had locked up was there. The nine-star sword is the nemesis of illusion arrays. Drawing a star to form an array can break illusions. His brows slightly moved as he walked in front of him with a transparent sword protecting them. Then why didn't you break the array earlier? Luo Qingshan blinked as she asked in confusion. He could have broken the array as soon as he entered, so why did he wait for a while? Dong Jiexan's deep eyes flashed with a faint light. He looked at her and said, "The snow is very beautiful." Actually, he just wanted to see what her dream was. At the same time, in Stone Valley. At this moment, this was the only place with a barrier. With Feng Wuji in charge, he reinforced all of Luo Yaoyu's barriers while Silent Step healed Luo Yaoyu in the valley. I'm afraid that cultivator can't be touched," Umbu said as he healed her. "Why? Even Brother Limitless has come. Cough, cough, cough. We have the ability to fight with them. Moreover, weren't they still in the illusion array? It's not that easy to get out of the blood demon illusion formation." Luo Yaoyu still didn't want to give up. Although Dong Jiexan had easily defeated her, that was because she wasn't familiar with the enemy and wasn't prepared. Impossible. Feng Wuji knit his brows as he slowly walked in. Dong Jiexan is the only cultivator and immortal cultivator in this world to become a god. If he wants to break my illusion array, it'll take less than a quarter of an hour. But, what are you doing? Feng Wuji looked up with a bit of displeasure. Do you know that if I didn't happen to pass by, you and Silent Step's primordial spirit might have scattered? Chapter 1147. Then what we do now? Luo Yaoyu heard this. After all, it came from Feng Wuji's mouth, so she already believed 80% of it. It seemed like it was impossible to reach the gold demon realm this time. But she wasn't that far from the red demon realm. If she wasn't injured, as long as she cultivated for a few more months, she would have succeeded. Damn, it was all that ugly little immortal's fault. She was ugly and her techniques were bad. If it wasn't for her appearing first, Dong Jiexan wouldn't have been able to find her this quickly. You and Silent Step are both injured, and I used 300 years of cultivation to quickly lay down the blood demon illusion array. Feng Wuji narrowed his eyes, and his silver hair fell over his blue eyes as he softly said, "If we want to run far, it'll be a bit hard." Dong Jiexan's flying sword was above all of them. It was impossible for them to run away. unless he stopped chasing them. But his martial nephew's spirit was about to scatter. He would definitely take revenge for this. Right now, they couldn't use force, they could only use their wits. In a dark stone valley, Dong Jiaxian was walking in front as the nine-star sword's light surrounded Luo Qingchen. She knew that he was really protecting her. But she wasn't afraid of Luo Yaoyu and Feng Wuji. Although Feng Wuji's Silver Phoenix zither was strong, it couldn't compare to the Drunken Dream's sword, not to mention the exquisite ring. As for Luo Yaoyu, she really wasn't on the same level as her. They should have left already, right? Luo Qingchen slightly knit her brows. Although there was demonic qi around them, it was already very faint. Adding in the complete silence around them, there was a cage at the end. It was filled with citizens and Dong Jiaxian's little junior brother. No, they're still here. Ding ling. The sound of an excited zither rang out. Everyone in the cage instantly looked up after hearing this sound. Their eyes were completely red. This is bad. They're controlling the living corpses. Dong Jiaxian's eyes were cold, and his beautiful face slightly knit for the first time. Feng Wuji was really ruthless. If they wanted to leave safely, they would actually use this method. Can these people still be saved? Luo Qingchen's eyebrows moved slightly. The cage that was originally holding them was about to collapse. If these people couldn't be saved, they had to be killed. If they could be saved, yes. Dong Jiaxian's deep eyes flickered, and he said with a cold voice, "But I need some time." "How long?" "Half an hour." "What do you need me to do?" "You can't." Dong Jiaxian shook his head. "Just stay by my side. I'm afraid his music will hurt you." In fact, Dong Jiaxian didn't need to spend so much time saving them, but the sound of the Silver Phoenix Guqin was too disruptive. The sound of the zither won't stop. It will hinder you from saving people. Luo Qingchen narrowed her eyes. She could naturally see the worry in Dong Jixin's eyes. He had to stay here. Otherwise, the people here would kill each other and not a single one would be left. "It's fine. It'll take some time. Where are you going?" "Just focus on saving people. Leave the zither to me." Feng Wuji's Silver Phoenix Guqin was an ancient zither. It was very powerful and had a powerful penetrating ability. The sound of the zither seemed very close, but he was already very far away. Chapter 1148. Luo Qingchen stood on a rock in the valley, and her lips curled as a piano appeared in front of her. "Ding! 500 exchange points has been taken. Successfully exchanged for a piano and a free chair." Although a piano was something that didn't exist in this world, it was still a cultivation world. There were many divine weapons. So who said that there couldn't be a piano? She couldn't be more familiar with the music Feng Wuji played with the Silver Phoenix zither and adding in her own skills with the piano. She had a 99% chance of winning this zither competition. Of course, other than winning the melody, she also needed to use her magic power. Ding, 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 ding. An excited piano sound rang out. It had a tone that was unique in this world, directly suppressing the aura of the Silver Phoenix zither. There were large amounts of cherry blossom petals floating around the piano, and there was a strong cherry blossom fragrance in the air. Feng Wuji, 10 kilometers away, was stunned. The other side had used a melody that he had never heard of before to suppress his zither music. It had an absolute aura, suppressing him layer by layer. The most terrifying thing was that this magic power didn't come from Dong Jiaxian. Could it be? Feng Wuji's blue eyes suddenly flashed with an aggressive aura. The other side was clearly declaring war on him. How could he not accept it? At the same time, the 9-star array in the valley opened. The living dead instantly calmed down, and there was a dark red-black gas that kept coming out of them. This black gas was Luo Yaoyu's plan to use them as a sacrifice, using improper methods to become a gold demon. But even if it was a demon doing this, it was going against the heavens. If there was an accident during the sacrifice, they would suffer a backlash, and their primordial spirit would scatter. It was impossible for Luo Yaoyu not to know this, but she really wanted to surpass Luo Qingchen. When Dong Jixin heard Luo Qingchen's zither music, there was a look of surprise that flashed in his eyes. At this moment, that ordinary-looking young girl, who looked like a cultivator who was weak in algebra, could actually produce such an imposing zither sound. This kind of tone was something he had never heard of before. All of a sudden, something inexplicable stirred his heart, and this feeling caused the corners of his mouth to unconsciously curve into an extremely faint smile. Ding! Affection has increased by 5. Mission completion rate is now 15%. Yeah, just playing a piece of music increased her favorability. It was as if a pie had fallen from the sky. At this moment, the sound of the piano was steadily suppressing Feng Wuji's Silver Phoenix Guqin. But in the next song, Feng Wuji actually dripped his blood into the Silver Phoenix Guqin. His momentum changed in an instant, completely covering Luo Qingqian's Guqin. She narrowed her cold eyes. The exquisite ring on her right hand was suffused with a faint golden light, and the red mark between her eyebrows was faintly discernible. In the next second, her face changed, and that devastatingly beautiful face instantly returned to her face. The cherry blossom petals surrounding her instantly turned into black feathers. She bit her lip, and her slender fingers danced quickly on the black and white keys. The sound of the piano was unstoppable. But just as her zither was about to overshadow the Silver Phoenix zither, the Silver Phoenix zither stopped. She was a bit surprised. With a wave of her right hand, her face turned back into a normal face, and the black feathers gradually turned into cherry blossom petals. At this time, Feng Wuji, who was 10 kilometers away, actually revealed a helpless smile. Chapter 1149. Luo Qingqian narrowed her eyes. With a wave of her right hand, the piano entered her storage space. The barrier above the stone valley gradually disappeared. It seemed like Luo, Yao Yu, and Yingbu had left. She came down from the rock and bumped into Dong Xin, who was coming out of the valley. The two of them looked at each other and were both stunned. "Is your martial nephew all right?" Luo Qingqian pursed her lips and broke the silence. Dong Xin said with a soft nod, "He's not good. I have already placed his primordial spirit and flesh into the immortal sulfur, so I have to bring him back to the sect first." The immortal sulfur was a treasure of the god race. It contained large amounts of spiritual energy. It was rumored that it could bring back the dead, but it was unknown if this was true or not. His deep eyes looked at Luo Qingqian, and there was an unknown emotion in his dark as ink eyes. "Then you can go back first." Luo Qingqian gave a shrug. Her clear eyes sparkled as she looked at him and said, "Leave the rest to me." Ding! Affection has increased by 5. Mission completion rate is now 20%. As expected, righteous and awe-inspiring people always liked well-behaved girls, even though this increase in favorability had nothing to do with her identity. But why did she have to return affection that she gained with her own skills? He gave a soft nod. When he was about to turn around, he couldn't help asking, "Can you tell this miss your name?" This was something that had been hidden in his heart for a long time, but he finally asked it. "Qing." She looked up with a faint smile on her lips. "Sect Master Dong, we will meet again." "Really?" "Of course." When she finished taking care of the matters in the Forgotten River, it was already 3 days later. When she arrived at the Disturbed Love sect, it was the recruitment of the new cultivators, which was led by the Six Peaks Gulu. When Luo Qingqian arrived, she saw an old acquaintance, Xia Mo Xing. However, it wasn't that there was no spiritual energy around her. The spiritual energy didn't come from her. The Queen Mother of the West probably praised her for breaking up the marriage alliance between the Devil race and the Wu people and gave her some immortal energy. However, compared to her previous spiritual power, it was not even a tenth of her previous spiritual power. "Qing, this way, please." A disciple in white called out to her and led her into the final examination hall. Due to her outstanding illusory spirit power at the beginning, everyone wanted to take her in as their disciple. The Disturbed Love sect had a total of 6 peaks, and each peak was filled with experts. There were large and small competitions each year. Sect leader Dong Xin had 2 disciples, both of whom were male. Both of them were heavenly geniuses. Be it in terms of spirit arts or divination, they were extremely powerful. Not a single cultivator in the lower realm could defeat them. In the main hall, Gulu was sitting in the high position as he looked at the cultivators below. Those that can enter the disturbed love sect through the first round are the most outstanding juniors in my eyes. But you have to know, as long as you enter this place, no matter how sharp you were in the past, you must put it away. Because everyone here is much stronger than all of you. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes and looked around at the people around her. There were a total of 50 cultivators who passed the first round, and other than Xiamo, Xing, everyone's grade wasn't low. Some of these cultivators could even leave the lower realm to become immortals after passing a heavenly tribulation, but they actually chose to come to the disturbed love sect. This really was unbelievable, but most of these people were women. Chapter 1150. After this, you will undergo strict training, and then the disturbed love sect's treasure, the Destiny Stone, will decide where you go. After Gu Lu said this, he had the disciples lead them out of the main hall. Luo Qingshun was very lucky that she wasn't in the same room as Xiaqing and Mo. The one in the same room with her was a very talkative girl. She looked very cute, and her large eyes were very charming, but her words were a bit giving people a headache. Qing, what do you think I should wear tomorrow? Qing, what do you think about my red coral lotus hairpin? Qing, the disturbed love sect is so cold. Isn't this blanket too thin? Qing, do you think the Destiny Stone will send me to the disturbed love hall? I want to become Sect Master Dong's disciple. Qing, I'm hungry. Mu Hua Hua. Yes. Luo Qingshun rubbed her temple and threw a pillow at her. Why do you have so many questions? Because I don't understand. Mu Hua Hua pouted her lips in an aggrieved manner. Master always says that you have to ask more if you don't understand. Mu Hua Hua was the young miss of a large family in the lower realm. Her parents were both mortals. On the day she was born, the flowers in the yard bloomed, and she was destined to become a cultivator. Therefore, she was different from those people whose parents were cultivators. This kind of cultivator, in the eyes of those arrogant people, was an impure bloodline. You're already in the disturbed love sect. You don't need to listen to your master. Luo Qingshun laid on the bed and turned around before continuing. Because you're much stronger than your master. Mu Hua Hua blinked in confusion. Then who do I need to listen to? Mu Hua Hua had been a strange existence since she was young. Everyone was afraid of her when she was studying in the school. The orthodox cultivators looked down on her. She was in a position that was neither high nor low. She was clearly outgoing, but no one was willing to play with her. Actually, it was still very lonely. Only the headmaster would talk to her occasionally, so she was very obedient to the headmaster. Listen to me. Luo Qingshun's eyebrows moved slightly as she chuckled. If you listen to me, I'll treat you to a chicken leg. Really? Mu Hua Hua said excitedly. Do you want to eat now? She was so hungry. His stomach rumbled, and he felt like he was going to faint from hunger. Of course not now. Luo Qingshun shook her head. Tomorrow. Then what are we going to do now? Mu Hua Hua rolled her big eyes and looked at her with a puzzled face. Sleep. Luo Qingshun closed her eyes, speaking very concisely. Oh, okay. 3 seconds later, Mu Hua Hua's loud snoring came from the room. The next morning, there was a commotion outside the door. It seemed like someone was quarreling. She slightly knit her brows as she heard Xia and Mo Xing's voice, as well as those people who could become immortals after one more heavenly tribulation. This is my first time seeing someone with such weak spiritual energy enter the disturbed love sect. Aren't you using the back door? I don't believe it. That's right. It really isn't fair. If this kind of person can enter the disturbed love sect, can't those random dogs and cats enter as well? What a joke. For the next spirit technique test, how many can you pass? Xianamo Xing pursed her lips as she angrily looked at the person in front of her. If she didn't have her cultivation crippled by Luo Qingshun, she would have entered the disturbed love sect as a small immortal. Chapter 1151. AI, it seems like you want to beat us. Beat? A girl in purple gave a cold laugh. I'm afraid I can heavily injure her with just 10% of my power. These so-called orthodox cultivators naturally couldn't stand this kind of person with low spiritual energy. Although her spiritual energy was pure, it was too weak. This spiritual energy came from the day they were born, and now it was several grades higher than hers. Pong! The door was opened, and everyone was a bit surprised before their eyes filled with contempt. Luo Qingshun, who ate the pills given by the system, naturally had impure spiritual energy in their eyes, and Mu Hua Hua was the same. But because their spiritual energy wasn't low, those people with orthodox spiritual energy couldn't be so mean to them. After all, in the first round, Luo Qingshun and Mu Hua Hua were ranked first and second. Two sisters, don't you think so? The girl in purple pursed her lips, and her lips curled into a beautiful curve. Tell me, how could someone with such weak spiritual energy be qualified to enter the disturbed love sect? I feel. Luo Qingshun raised a brow and cut off Mu Hua Hua, who wanted to stand up for Xia Mo Xing. You are very reasonable. Qing, don't speak. Luo Qingshun looked at her and softly said, You said you would listen to me. All right. Mu Hua Hua naturally wanted to stand up for Xia Mo Xing because she felt that the current Xia Mo Xing was very similar to her past self. She was pushed aside, and no one liked to play with her. Because of the so-called orthodox and non-orthodox cultivators, she was treated unfairly. Therefore, she wanted to stand up for her. But she didn't know why Luo Qingshun wanted to stop her and stand on the side of the so-called orthodox cultivators. Upon hearing this, Xia Mo Xing glared at Luo Qingshun fiercely. She didn't care if these so-called orthodox cultivators talked about her. What right did this average-looking woman, whose spiritual power was not very strong, have to insult her? Ha! The purple-robed woman covered her face and laughed. Trash really deserves to be punished. Trash? Xia Mo Xing finally couldn't help but look at the purple-robed woman and say, My spiritual energy was many times more than yours. Really? Luo Qingshun chuckled and said, You really know how to brag? Why don't we have a competition? After saying this, she felt an inexplicable sense of satisfaction in her heart. This was the first time he had bullied someone from such an angle. Or rather, it cannot be called bullying, but revenge. Take revenge for all the grievances that the original owners suffered. Xia Mo Xing looked at Luo Qingshun with a fierce expression and tightly clenched her fists. Ugly thing, what right do you have to talk about me? If I am the one with the lowest spiritual energy in the disturbed love sect, then you are the ugliest one. What right did she have to cultivate if she was that ugly? Wasn't she afraid of being treated as a monster by mortals in the lower realm? When Xia Mo Xing said this, Mu Hua Hua, who wanted to help her, let out a sigh of relief. This kind of person, it was a good thing she didn't help her. As expected, even if their experiences were the same, everyone's personality and way of doing things were different. Chapter 1152. When the purple-robed girl heard this, she looked over Luo Qingshun and secretly revealed a smile. Luo Qingshun was too lazy to care about her. After all, she was an orthodox cultivator, so she had a sense of pride. When facing people who weren't as good as them, they would feel a sense of disdain. But they didn't know that in the eyes of the Demon Shadow Palace's red demon Luo Qingshun, they didn't even have the right to fight her. Whether I look good or not is up to me. As for how long you can live, that's up to me. Luo Qingshun narrowed her cold eyes, and the exquisite ring on her right hand released golden light. The scattered spiritual energy attacked Xia Mo Xing. She really couldn't endure Xia Mo Xing. Even in the disturbed love sect, she didn't want to endure it. After the previous host took the heavenly tribulation for her, she painfully laid on the bed, and her primordial spirit slowly dissipated. Scene after scene flashed in front of her eyes. This person, she shouldn't have stayed. She just never thought that Xia Mo Xing would leave Yi Jihan so decisively. She really wanted to see what Yi Jihan's expression was like now. Would he regret betraying the previous host who loved him so deeply? Xia Mo Xing saw the golden light attack her, and she immediately raised her hand to block it. But with a pung sound, a light blue spiritual energy blocked her. Everyone was stunned and bowed. Greetings, sect master. She had thought of meeting Dong Ji Xian again under countless circumstances, but she never thought that it would be under this kind of situation. Xia Mo Xing was clearly in a state of shock as a blush appeared on her cheeks. She looked like a little white flower that was pitiful. He didn't look at Xia Mo Xing at all. His eyes were deeply focused on Luo Qingchen. If it wasn't for the familiar scent of cherry blossoms he smelled when he woke up, he wouldn't have known that she was here. After not seeing her for a few days, he felt like he missed her a little. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 30%. Luo Qingchen slightly knit her brows as she felt a bit unhappy. The main thing was that when she was in such a bad mood, the other party actually increased her favorability. She really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Dong Xian naturally saw her displeasure. After all, he had personally blocked the person she wanted to attack. But in fact, he was doing it for her own good. If a disciple that just entered the disturbed love sect fought before they were assigned a peak, they would be kicked out of the sect and would never be allowed to enter the disturbed love sect again. He couldn't bear for her to leave this place because of something like this. Dong Zhixin nodded. The second trial is about to begin. Hurry to the main palace. Sixth uncle will tell you the rules. Yes, sect master. Everyone respectfully replied. Only Luo Qingchen didn't say anything. She was a bit aggrieved. Although she knew why Dong Zhixin blocked her attack for Xia Mo Xing, she couldn't take this aggrieved feeling. After all, she had 30% affection and Xia Mo Xing was her biggest enemy, so it wasn't wrong to be a bit proud. When Dong Zhixin saw her slightly pursed lips, his heart, which was originally as calm as a dark pool, unconsciously palpitated. This feeling was too wonderful, so wonderful that the corners of his mouth unconsciously outlined a very faint smile. Chapter 1153. Humph. Xia Mo Xing gave a soft snort. I'm afraid you don't know my identity. Jiaozi looked at her with a flattering look. I made a mistake just now. Little sister Mo Xing, I'm really sorry. The entire disturbed love sect knew that sect master Dong Zhixin had never appeared in the dorms of the new disciples. Now that he had appeared to protect this person with weak spiritual energy, it seemed like they really couldn't underestimate her. Let me tell you, I am already a fairy of the heavenly realm. Xia Mo Xing rolled her eyes of disdain. If I didn't lose my cultivation after entering the demon race, how could you be this arrogant? As soon as her voice fell, she waved her sleeve and walked towards the main hall alone. When she left, she didn't forget to look at Luo Qingchen with eyes filled with disdain. The second round was the opposite of the first round. It was all about defense. Everyone that passed the first round stood on the high platform. Whoever could resist the power of the 1,000 piercing zither for the longest would be the strongest. The 1,000 piercing zither would increase by a level every few minutes, and it was the absolute treasure of the 6 peaks. The energy would increase with each level, and there wasn't a single new disciple that could resist more than 6 levels. As for passing the 10th level, even the elders of the 6 peaks wouldn't be able to retreat safely. Most of the people that could enter the second round could resist the first level of the 1,000 piercing zither, but there were several people that couldn't resist the second level and chose to leave the high platform. Those that left the high platform couldn't enter again. So when the 1,000 piercing zither reached the 3rd level, there were many people that held on even after spitting out blood. One of them was Xia Mo Xing. But when the music reached the 4th level, she fainted in the high platform's barrier and was saved by the elders. AI, she really is weak. Be quiet. Her relationship with the sect master isn't normal. Damn, it can't be that she can enter the disturbed love hall, right? How is it impossible? I've heard that her weak spiritual energy was given to her by the Western Queen Mother. If it really is like this, she definitely isn't someone that can be offended. The surrounding gossips were still whispering, but when the 1,000 piercing zither's attack power rose to the 5th level, all the people with insufficient defense were directly ejected out of the barrier. At this moment, there were only 6 people inside the barrier on the platform. The girls were Luo Qingchen, Mu Huahua, and Jiaozi. Several elders sitting at the side also cast satisfied glances at them and whispered to each other. Although this batch of disciples isn't the batch with the strongest spirit spells, The distribution of the strong and the weak is different. But the strong ones are all people with extremely high perception and wisdom. Yeah. A peak elder stroked his beard and said, "What's the name of this female disciple in pink? Her comprehension ability is really high." Elder. One of the disciples looked at the name list and said, "Her name is Qing." Not bad, not bad. The second peak elder's gaze fell on a girl next to Luo Qingshun and said, "The female disciple in orange is also not bad. Although she isn't an orthodox cultivator, to be able to resist the 5th level of the 1,000-piercing zither, she definitely has extremely high talent." Ding-ling. With a burst of fast music, the 1,000-piercing zither's attack rose to the 6th level. Jiao Zi's face was a bit pale, but she tightly pursed her lips. There was only her and the 2 people she mocked this morning left on the high platform. If she lost now, how great would her face be? Chapter 1154. The 1,000-piercing zither's attack continued, and Luo Qingshun looked at Mu Huahua. She looked at her innocently, looking incomparably relaxed. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes in surprise. Although the 6th layer of the 1,000-piercing zither was nothing to her, how could Mu Huahua block it this easily? She wasn't an immortal yet. She was just a mortal cultivator. This really was unbelievable. Pooh, a mouthful of blood came out of Jiao Zi's mouth as she was sent out of the barrier. The 1,000-piercing zither had already reached the 7th layer, and there were strange whirlpools in the sky, covering the entire stage. This 1,000-piercing zither was indeed powerful. Luo Qingshun knit her brows as the exquisite ring on her right hand released a faint golden glow. At the same time, Mu Huahua beside her didn't feel anything at all. She just blinked at her and silently asked her, "When can we end? What do we eat tonight?" Luo Qingshun helplessly curled her lips. All the elders and immortals of the disturbed love sect were stunned seeing this. Heavens, these 2 unorthodox immortal cultivators have such a strong resistance. It's unbelievable. It seems like this generation of disciples will allow our disturbed love sect to be toppled in the God realm and even the demon realm. If they aren't trying to be brave, they will definitely be immortals after passing their tribulation. However, the disciples under the stage were all staring at Luo Qingshun and Mu Huahua. Jiao Zi had an unwilling look, but she couldn't help admiring their immortal energy. It clearly didn't seem like their immortal energy was that strong. So why did they have such a strong defense in this round? Big sister Jiao Zi, it seems like these 2 are our real opponents. That's right. We really shouldn't look down on these trash cultivators. Perhaps they grew up eating saponins and are quite rough. If it was before, I could beat them with a single hand. Xia Mo Xing held her chest as blood dripped from the corner of her mouth. She narrowed her eyes as she looked at the 2 people in the barrier. Yes, our little sister Mo Xing is the strongest. Jiao Zi narrowed her eyes and looked at her with a deep meaning. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Although we didn't have a good first-time meeting, I know what you mean. Xia Mo Xing turned around and pursed her lips. I agree to cooperate with you. After all, I have to take revenge for hurting you. At this moment, Dongji Hixin, standing in the clouds, narrowed his eyes as he looked at Luo Qingshun with a bit of worry. Ding, 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 ding. After a minute, the 1,000-piercing zither. The color of the sky suddenly changed, the wind blew, and the temperature dropped below 0 degrees Celsius. Luo Qingshun, Luo zither. Zither. Cherry blossom petals appeared around her, blocking the zither's power for her. The current Mu Huahua was the same as before. She couldn't feel any changes at all. Host, if you keep holding on, you will reveal your true form. The system's voice sounded in her mind. She narrowed her eyes and jumped out of the barrier. Chapter 1155. Wow, Qing is so beautiful. There are many cherry blossom petals around. Mu Huahua reached out to take a few petals as she said, "We can make cherry blossom soup tonight." Luo Qingshun looked at her and said in a voice of disbelief, "You really don't feel anything at all?" "I do." Mu Huahua honestly nodded, feeling a very comfortable feeling. After that, the thousand-piercing zither released a moon-white glow as it flew in a straight line towards Muhuahua. Gulu was a bit stunned and wanted to take it back. He didn't know that the thousand-piercing zither had already turned into the size of a jade pendant, falling into Muhuahua's hand. Everyone was stunned as they took in a cold breath. It seems like Miss Mu hasn't even entered my disturbed love sect, and my Six Peaks divine weapon has already recognized its master. Gulu's eyes had a faint mist as he said, "Is your mother Muing?" "You. How do you know?" Muhuahua took a step back in fear, standing behind Luo Qingshan. Heavens will is playing with people. Heavens will is playing with people. Gulu gave a slight nod and didn't say anything else. He just shook his head and said, "This thousand-piercing zither originally belonged to your mother, and now it can be considered returning to its owner." As soon as his voice fell, he turned around and didn't say another word. The second round of the competition was over, and there was half joy and half worry. First, Luo Qingshan and Mu Huahua became the targets of envy for the normal cultivators. Then they also became the targets of envy for Jiao Zi and the others. "Qing, what do you think Elder Gulu means? How does he know my mother's name? Moreover, my mother is immortal. How could she say that this divine weapon is returning to its owner?" Luo Qingshan slightly knit her brows as she ate the cherry blossom soup she made. "If my guess isn't wrong, your mother shouldn't be in this world anymore, right?" "Woo." She was a bit surprised before saying, "Qing is so powerful." "It's not that it's powerful. It's that since ancient times, all divine artifacts have recognized their masters." Luo Qingshan softly tapped her head and said, "Elder Gulu said that this thousand-piercing zither belonged to your mother, but its original owner was your mother. If your mother was still here, this divine artifact wouldn't recognize you. But my mother is immortal. How could she have such a powerful artifact?" Mu Huahua blinked her eyes filled with confusion. "Are you stupid?" She looked up and explained, "Maybe your mother didn't tell you. If I'm not wrong, you haven't seen your father before." After Luo Qingshan said this sentence, Mu Huahua was obviously stunned. He always felt that this average-looking girl, who was half cold and half warm, was inexplicably powerful. He was always able to unintentionally reveal the secrets in her heart, just like a divine fortune teller in a mortal world. "I think," she paused and narrowed her eyes, "Gulu and your father should have some kind of relationship." Although it was only her guess, she felt that it was most likely correct. Mu Huahua didn't sleep that night, and Luo Qingshan also didn't feel sleepy. There was also another person who didn't feel sleepy, Dong Zhixian. He stood on top of the clouds and drew a 9-pointed star on the destiny stone with his right hand. The 9-pointed star flickered and his brow slightly moved. He wrote 3 words on the 9-pointed star, "Disturbed Love Hall." Chapter 1156. The next morning, the remaining 23 disciples of the Disturbed Love sect would use the Destiny Stone to determine which peak they would go to. Since ancient times, the Destiny Stone was the benchmark of the Disturbed Love sect, deciding each person's future as a cultivator. They could either become an immortal or be a cultivator for their entire life. It had to be known that although cultivators had a longer lifespan than normal people, it wasn't that much longer. Their bodies were given to them by their parents. A mortal's lifespan had an end, but becoming an immortal could extend this end by several thousand years, or even tens of thousands of years. Before the ceremony had even begun, the so-called orthodox immortal cultivators had already begun to chatter. Among them, the ones who taunted the most were Jiao Zi and Xia Mo Xing. Luo Qingshan felt this was very funny. These two were just slandering each other yesterday, but today they were sisters with a common enemy. If she didn't personally see it, she wouldn't have believed that there would be such a shameless person in this world. "AI, isn't this the legendary person related to Elder Gulu?" Jiaozi looked around, and seeing that there were no elders nearby, she continued, "I thought you were strong enough to block the 1,000-piercing Zither's attack, but you actually went through the back door." Xia Mo Xing heard this and immediately said, "That's right. I'm afraid you didn't go through the back door. You couldn't even pass the first level." You really are the worms of the disturbed love sect? Shameless. Luo Qingshun gave a cold snort. When she wanted to say something, Mu Hua Hua rushed forward to refute her. What a joke! Your techniques aren't as good as others, but your mouth is good. Mu Hua Hua rolled her eyes at them. Even if the 1,000-piercing zither didn't attack me, because of me, Qing still passed the 8th level. Unlike some people who couldn't even pass the 3rd level and almost lost their lives. You, Xiaomo Xing bit her lip and said in an unwilling voice, I'm not as good as her. You're this ugly and you cultivate? Do you think that cultivating can make you look good? She hated ugly women the most in her life. Back when she was in the Wu people, she had trampled on the most beautiful woman in the Tiana continent and won the man she loved the most. Now, these two ugly people want to show off in front of her. Do it. A dream. You make it sound like you're pretty. Mu Hua Hua pursed her lips and tried to defend herself. After all, she wasn't Xia Mo Xing. Sometimes, she couldn't lie through her teeth. It was true that she and Xing were not as good-looking as Xia Mo Xing, but that did not mean that she could bully others so unscrupulously. This was the disturbed love sect and not the Red Joy House. What use was there in being good-looking? Cultivating the Tao to become an immortal and attaining attainments in spirit arts was the most important matter. Mu Hua Hua, go to the heavens will stage. First brother's voice came from a stage. Mu Hua Hua glanced at her and nervously walked towards the heavens fate stage. A faint blue light flashed around her, and the words on the destiny stone gradually became clear. After a few seconds, there was a 6th that appeared. Gu Lu closed his eyes and let out a long sigh. There was a flash of joy in his eyes. But Mu Hua Hua didn't seem that happy. The people below, led by Jiao Zi, began to whisper amongst themselves. None of them were pleasant to hear. With her level, she can only go to the 6th peak. Good trash, I want to go to the 1st peak. Great Master is so handsome. Xia Mo Xing, go to the heavens fate stage. Xia Mo Xing's eyes fell onto Dong, Gxin. She walked towards the heavens fate stage like a noble girl with a smile in her eyes. Chapter 11:57. After that, just like Mu Hua Hua, there was a faint blue light around her, and the faint words on the destiny stone gradually became clear. After a few seconds, there was still the word 6. Xia Mo Xing's eyes were filled with shock. This 6th peak was the weakest peak in the disturbed love sect. There weren't many people who could become immortals. She really was unlucky this time. Although Xia Mo Xing's heart was filled with dissatisfaction, she couldn't show it. After all, if Gu Lu didn't accept her, she could only pack her bag and leave the disturbed love sect. No, definitely not. After working so hard and doing so many things, she finally came here. She came to Dong Gxin's side. There was nothing that could make her leave. No one could. Back in the heavenly court, the scene of him saving her was still fresh in her mind. Now, this obsession was deeply imprinted in her heart. It couldn't be erased. Jiao Zi stood on the ground and said to the little follower on the side, Do you see it? Their strength is the same, so they were all sent to the 6th peak. As soon as her voice fell, she didn't forget to refute Luo Qingchen. Stop looking. What use is there? You're also from the 6th peak. You 3 weak chickens will be sent to the same place soon. 2 little bastards who came in through the back door. A former fairy whose spiritual energy isn't even a 10th of mine. Ha ha ha, this really is too funny. When she saw Xia Mo Xing come down, her face immediately changed. Little sister, don't be sad. Big sister will come to find you often. Xia Mo Xing naturally could hear the taunting in her words and couldn't help refuting. If Big Sister and I have the same peak, you really don't need to come find me. Ha ha ha. Jiao Zi said with a shrug. That really is impossible. You two's play is quite interesting. Luo Qingshun said with a chuckle after hearing their conversation, playing sisterly love one moment and dogs biting each other the next. Interesting, interesting. Ugly girl, just wait and see which peak Big Sister will go to. I'll let you see the difference between an orthodox cultivator and you little bastards. As soon as her voice fell, Big Senior Brother's voice sounded. Jiaozi, go to the heavens fate stage. Jiaozi proudly shrugged her shoulders and walked towards the Heaven's Fate stage with a cold smile. The peak elders all had great expectations for Jiao Zi since her parents were immortals. Her birth was very noble, and she came to the Disturbed Love Sect because of the Disturbed Love Sect's sect master title. Such a person would definitely become a talent in the future. A few seconds later, Jiaozi's surroundings were suffused with a faint red light. The words on the Destiny's stone gradually became clearer, reflecting the word 1. She raised her eyebrows in joy. His eyes were filled with pride as he nodded slightly at the first elder. When she reached the bottom of the stage, she didn't forget to look at Luo Qingshun and said, "Did you see that ugly little bastard? This is called strength. Do you know what a destiny stone is? The fate of your entire life has already been written on the stone of fate." Ha 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 ha. There was a low laugh. Although the elders couldn't hear it, Luo Qingshun could clearly hear it. Mu Huahua naturally couldn't get used to Jiao Zi taunting Luo Qingshun. She directly replied, "This really is a joke. Cultivation depends on comprehension. It's the same no matter where an idiot goes." Lu. At this time of all the new disciples, only Luo Qingshun hadn't been on the Destiny Stone yet. Chapter 1158. Qing's Destiny Stage. The night breeze blew, and there was a faint cherry blossom scent that filled the air. She walked towards the Destiny Stage step by step, and her eyes trembled. It wasn't that she was afraid of being assigned to that peak. Rather, his eyes looking at her were too deep, making her a bit nervous. When she stood on the Destiny Stage, there was a faint blue and white glow that surrounded her. Jiaozi couldn't help laughing as she said, "That person, do you see Mu Huahua? She's on the same peak as you. The surrounding colors are all the same. You two sisters really are fated." Mu Huahua tightly bit her lip. She wanted to refute, but she didn't know what to say. When the Destiny Stone faintly reflected the shape of a 9-pointed star, the blue and white light around it instantly turned into a dazzling white light. All the elders were taken aback, and their gazes fell on Dong Ji Hexen, until there were 3 words clearly written on the Destiny Stone: Disturbed Love Hall. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 40%. God, how is this possible? Sect Master. So powerful. She's actually the Sect Master's disciple. Ha ha ha. Mu Huahua gave 2 soft laughs before saying to Jiaozi beside her, "You really are making me laugh to death. Our family's Qing is a disciple that your peak can't compare to." "You." Jiaozi's face turned red from anger. She pointed at Mu Huahua and said, "Shut up for me." She never would have thought that this normal-looking cultivator, who wasn't a proper cultivator, would be able to enter the Disturbed Love Hall. How is this possible? "So what if I don't shut up? Are you going to hit me?" Mu Huahua pursed her lips and said, "I like seeing you want to hit me, but can't. I don't believe it. I don't believe it." Xia Mo Xing kept shaking her head as she took a step back. She muttered, "Impossible. Impossible." "It seems that you are still calm." Mu Huahua made a face and shook her head. "There is another one that is even more abnormal." The elders looked at each other. Then Gulu stood out and said, "Since ancient times, the Heaven's Mandate Stone has never said the words Emotion Hall." The 2 disciples of the Sect Master were also personally chosen by the Sect Master from the mortal world. What do you think about Qing's fate this time? After all, without Sect Master Dong Ji Xian's permission, the Disturbed Love Hall would not accept any disciples, let alone female disciples. Everyone in the Disturbed Love Sect knew that in order to reach the Eternal Realm, the Sect Master had already crossed off his name on the 3-life stone beside the Magpie Bridge. He had no desires, no feelings, no love. This kind of person probably didn't like women. When Jiao Zi and Xia Mo Xing heard Gu Lu's words, they unconsciously nodded as if they were silently hoping that the Destiny Stone would redistribute Luo Qingshun's peak. But this was impossible, because Luo Qingshun going to the Disturbed Love Hall was arranged by Dong Jiexin. How could he let her go anywhere else? He didn't want her to go anywhere else, so he did this. This was his first time going against Heaven's will after becoming a god. He didn't know what kind of backlash he would receive. No need. His deep eyes had a faint glow as he said, "Since it is the will of heaven, there is no harm in taking a disciple." Chapter 1159. Dong Xian's disturbed love hall was more deserted than she imagined. When she first came here, she almost got lost. In the end, he found her in a corner of the mountain and brought her back to the main hall. She awkwardly scratched her head and said, "Master, there's no one in your hall." "I'm not your master." Dong Xian brewed a pot of tea, and his brows slightly twitched as he said, "You can call me sect master, or what?" Luo Qingshan pursed her lips as a faint sparkle appeared in her eyes. It was for nothing else. She just wanted to tease this cold man. "It's better to be sect master." He raised his cold eyes. His gaze was still very cold, but his ears were faintly red. Was he strangely being teased? "Sect master Dong, I'm a man of my word." She took the Bai Luo Chun tea from him and took a sip before saying, "I said I'd come." She suddenly felt that Dong Xian wasn't as cold as the rumors of the disturbed love sect said. She felt that in front of her, this omnipotent god was acting a bit reserved. He softly replied, "Thank you." "Ah." Luo Qingshan was stunned, not reacting to Dong Xian's words. Her clear eyes blinked as she said, "What did you just say?" He also felt that something was wrong, so he quickly changed the topic. "I want to ask you what you want to eat tonight." Actually, he was panicking. Since he met this girl in front of him, his every action had nothing to do with the disturbed love sect, Master Dong Xian. He was like a young boy in the mortal world, not knowing what to do in front of the person he liked. He thought that after settling his martial nephew down, he would head to the Forgotten River to find her, but he never thought that she would come to the disturbed love sect herself. Roasted duck, roasted fish, roasted meat, and roasted vegetables. Luo Qingshan swallowed her saliva. She suddenly felt a bit hungry. Where are roasted vegetables? Dong Xian poured her another pot of tea as he asked in a confused voice. She blinked her clear eyes and said, "Hua Hua said that roasted vegetables are especially delicious." I don't know, Luo Qingshan didn't expect that a dignified sect head would actually follow her unintentional words. In the evening, the little junior brothers sent the things she mentioned to the disturbed love sect one by one. When Luo Qingshan stood in the dining hall, she was completely stunned. "What are you waiting for? Come and see if it's delicious." Dong Xian whispered to her, "I don't usually eat. Today, I'll try it with you." "Don't eat." Luo Qingshan rolled her eyes. "Shindu doesn't eat? You can eat it or not. Are you not hungry?" "No." "Will you feel full if you eat too much?" "I don't think so." "Then don't eat it. It's a waste of food." The disciples looked at each other in blank dismay. Hearing their conversation, their faces froze, and they didn't dare make any expressions. Dong Xian seemed to notice that they hadn't left yet, as he coldly said, "You can leave first." "Yes, sect leader." The disciples looked at each other and hurriedly retreated. But in just a few days, the matter between Dong Xian and Luo Qingshan spread from 1 to 10 and 10 to 100. Chapter 1160. The contents of the rumors about them were as follows. "Have you heard? The sect master is personally teaching Qing immortal techniques, saying that her next heavenly tribulation will help her become an immortal." "I've heard. So envious." "I've also heard that no matter what Qing wants to eat, the sect master will have the kitchen make it. If he can't make it, he will personally go down to the lower realm to buy it." Sect master. Sect master wouldn't like Qing, right? But Qing isn't that good looking. How many men on the Harmony continent can compare to the sect master's face? That's right. Not to mention that he is the only god in the world. These rumors naturally reached Xia Mo Xing's ears. The sword in her hand fell to the ground with a dong sound, and her eyes filled with panic. Mu Hua Hua, standing on the side, had a very happy smile. She looked at Xia Mo Xing with a smile and said, "The sect master's eyes are really good, just as good as mine." "I don't believe it. I don't believe it." Xia Mo Xing bit her lip and said, "This must be a rumor spread by that ugly girl. Only idiots like you would believe it." She didn't believe it, not a single word. That girl named Qing was that ugly. What kind of person was Dong Xian? Would he like her? Impossible. If they were talking about beauty in the disturbed love sect, if she was the #1 beauty, who would be #2? That ugly girl. She was probably the ugliest girl in the disturbed love sect. This kind of person, it was definitely impossible. Humph. You're lying to yourself. Mu Hua Hua rolled her eyes in disdain. This is something that the senior brothers have personally seen. It isn't something our family's Qing spread. Shut up for me. Xiaomo Xing angrily picked up her sword and pointed it at Mu Hua Hua. Don't try to scare me. If I say it's not true, then it's not true. What a joke. Mu Hua Hua's right hand turned into 1,000 piercing zither. You want to fight? Come. Do you think I'm afraid of you? If I take a single step back, it'll be my loss. What's with the noise? Just as the two of them were about to fight, Gu Lu walked out with his hands behind his back. He looked at them and said, "It seems like you don't want to learn anything and want to go down the mountain directly." Master. Although the two of them were unwilling, they immediately knelt down and said, "Disciples know that they were wrong. Do you know why you came to the disturbed love sect? If it's not for the sake of cultivating to become an immortal, I advise you to leave as soon as possible, lest you delay the other disciples' studies." With that, he looked at Mu Hua Hua. Then he flicked his sleeves and left. Originally, the elders of the various peaks did not believe these rumors at all. However, there were simply too many delicacies sent to the disturbed love hall in the past few days. These things were definitely not what the sect leader liked. His two most outstanding disciples were punishing evil in the lower realm, so it could only be Qing Qing who had just entered the disturbed emotion hall. Could it be? But what kind of person was Dongji Xin? It was really unbelievable. At the same time, the Wu people. The entire sect leader's room was filled with the smell of alcohol. Yi Jihan's deep eyes were filled with a deathly stillness. He never would have thought that Xia Imo Xing had been lying to him the entire time. It was to separate him and Luo Qingshun. His mind was filled with the days he met Luo Qingshun in the mortal world, and the moment she faced her heavenly tribulation. There was a girl by his side before, but he didn't know how to cherish her. But now, he was filled with regret. He closed his eyes and picked up a jug of wine, walking onto the astrology platform in the wind. The stars turned and his right hand divined, writing down the 3 words Luo Qingshun. Chapter 1161. 3 days later, Yi Jihan went to the disturbed love sect as the head of the Wu people. The elders of the peaks discussed it and warmly welcomed him. After all, the Wu people had always been between the god race and the demon race since ancient times. Now that the demon race and the Wu people had fallen out, it wasn't strange for the Wu people's head to bury the hatchet with the god race. Not to mention that the Wu people had deep attainments in divination for thousands of years. So if they became friends, it wasn't a bad thing. Ye Patriarch, it really is an honor for you to come to our disturbed love sect. I don't dare. The Wu people and the god race were righteous sects 100 years ago. I should have come to visit the elders earlier. Tonight is the welcoming ceremony for the new disciples of the disturbed love sect. I wonder if Ye Patriarch is willing to participate. It's an honor. Yi Jihan narrowed his eyes as his lips curled into a faint smile. Although he didn't know why Luo Qingshun came to the disturbed love sect, he would definitely find her this time. After all, he believed that she still loved him. The welcoming ceremony for the new disciples was just a simple meal. It was also a way to relax the mood of the new disciples. Originally, Luo Qingshun wasn't willing to go. After all, she didn't want to see Yi Jihan again. You're really not going? Dongji Xin saw her hesitation and narrowed his eyes with a bit of pampering in them. He really liked this kind of life. He taught her immortal techniques, and in his absolute domain, he could let her do whatever she wanted. Unhumph. Luo Qingshun gave a soft snort as she said, "The Wu people's head doesn't sound like a good person." Thinking of this, Yi Jihan came to the disturbed love sect to Xia Imo Xing. Actually, if the previous host was pitiful, he wasn't any better. After all, Xia Imo Xing was someone he truly loved. But if she really had to give an evaluation, she only had 2 words: serves you right. You know him? Dong Zhixan raised a brow and narrowed his beautiful eyes. He took a sip of tea and said, "The Wu people are very far from here. How did a lower realm cultivator like you know him?" Without knowing why, he felt that the way he looked at her was a bit strange. This strange feeling, he didn't like it at all. "Master, why do you keep talking about me?" Luo Qingshan bit her lips as she looked at him with a look of dissatisfaction. "I am your disciple now. I can only be considered half a disciple." He smiled faintly and looked at her. "If I go with you, will you go?" "Ah." Luo Qingshan was surprised before her lips curled. "You're really willing to go with me?" He looked up with cold eyes and said, "I want to see what the person who married the #1 beauty of the Harmony continent, Luo Qingshan, looks like." After being together for a few days, Luo Qingshan had a good grasp of Dong Xian's lifestyle. Actually, his lifestyle was very simple. He wasn't willing to move most of the time. Normally, he didn't teach Luo Qingshan immortal techniques, but he did give her quite a few treasures. He said, to her, treasures are more important than immortal techniques. The Great Azure Hall. Although it was a simple meal, everyone could see it. In order to show Yi Jihan that the Disturbed Love sect was a place with immortal techniques, everyone came on their swords and had treasures in their hands. Chapter 1162. The divination wouldn't be wrong. Luo Qingshan had to be here. However, he seemed to have first seen another woman who made his heart ache. Xia and Mo Xing walked towards him, and when she saw his deep eyes, she couldn't help lowering her head. "Yi Patriarch is too polite." Gu Lu gave him a cup of wine and said, "Now that the Wu people are willing to be friends with my Disturbed Love sect, this is what the people of the Heavenly Court want to see the most." Heavenly Court, Yi Jihan said with a soft laugh. "Being friends with the Disturbed Love sect doesn't mean I'm friends with the Heavenly Court." The elders all looked at each other with a bit of awkwardness on their faces. Yi Jihan drank the wine in his hand and said, "The people under the Western Queen Mother are all scheming. I don't dare compliment them." After saying this, his eyes fell onto Xia and Mo Xing. "Don't you think so, Miss Xia?" "Ai, little sister Mo Xing, you know the Wu people's leader. So handsome. Speaking of this, you really are a capable person. You know everyone?" Envy, are you familiar with Leader Yi? He's just too good looking." Lu. I still feel that our sect master is the #1 handsome man on the Harmony continent." As soon as Yi Jihan's voice fell, everyone began to talk. Gu Lu, standing on the side, looked at him and asked, "Does Yi Patriarch know my disciple? I wish I never knew her." Yi Jihan's eyes turned cold as they were filled with disdain. Memories began to appear in his mind. Since Luo Qingshan left the Wu people, Xia and Mo Xing had her cultivation crippled by him, so she didn't care about him at all. He felt very guilty at that time, since he had wronged Xia and Mo Xing, so he should take care of her for the rest of her life. Therefore, no matter how unreasonable she was to him, no matter how much she mocked and ridiculed him, he still stayed by her side to take care of her, protect her, and never left. Little did he know that she had left on her own. He anxiously rushed to the astrology platform, only to find that she had used the celestial race's item to contact the Queen Mother of the West and return to the Heavenly Court. Later on, he found out from various sources, Xia and Mo Xing had been lying to him since the beginning. Even when they were in the lower bound, she had been acting. This scene caused him to lose someone who loved him deeply, and caused him to lose his wife who had always stood by his side. Yi Patriarch. Gu Lu had to call him twice before he came back to his senses. Seeing that the new disciples were all seated, he knit his brows in doubt as he said, "Sixth Elder, are all the new disciples of the Disturbed Love sect here this time?" Gu Lu was slightly taken aback and asked in confusion, "Does Yi Patriarch know anyone among them?" "It's nothing," Yi Jihan said with a soft laugh. "There are rumors that there are many lower realm cultivators that want to join the Disturbed Love sect. I never thought that there would only be this many people." Cuckoo. Gu Lu cleared his throat and said with a bit of pride, "There are indeed many people that want to join the Disturbed Love sect, but there are very few people that can become disciples of the Disturbed Love sect. There should only be 1% of the people here." As soon as Gu Lu's voice fell, there was a faint blue glow in the sky. There was a faint cherry blossom fragrance that filled the air, as well as a unique aura that normal people couldn't release. Chapter 1163. At the same time, the divination bell at Yi Jihan's waist rang, letting out a clear ding-ling sound. He was a bit surprised as he looked at the young girl in the cherry blossom embroidered dress behind Dong Xian. He silently said, "Ching Cheng." Dong Xian nodded as his cold eyes inadvertently looked at Yi Jihan. He could clearly see his own reflection in those eyes. He was looking at Luo Qingshun and had been looking at her the entire time. Since she appeared, he hadn't left her for a single second. Luo Qingshun gave a slight nod as her eyes inadvertently swept over Yi Jihan's figure, not stopping at all. In her eyes, it seemed like some people were still infatuated with Xiaomo Xing. An aloof Wu people's chief came to the disturbed love sect to look for someone. Interesting, this really was interesting. Everyone sit. Dong Xian waved his right hand and said in a slightly lazy voice, "What business does he patriarch have with my disturbed love sect?" Luo Qingqin's eyes lit up. She really wanted to cheer for Dong Xian at this moment. Probably only someone of his status would ask such a direct question. After all, one wouldn't visit a temple for no reason. In his eyes, Yi Jihan coming to the disturbed love sect alone, it definitely wasn't as simple as wanting to be friends with the disturbed love sect. Moreover, he didn't like the way he looked at his disciple. This one has heard of the disturbed love sect for a long time, so I came to discuss with Sect Master Dong and the various elders. He gave a polite nod to Dong Xian. His lips curled into a faint smile as he said, "I've heard that Sect Master Dong doesn't want to participate in this welcoming banquet, so today, my disciple likes it." He narrowed his eyes, and his eyes that were as deep as the sea looked at Yi Jihan in front of him with an absolute aura. When everyone heard this, they couldn't help trembling. Moreover, they were filled with admiration for Dong Xian saying this. After all, there were rumors about him and his little disciple flying all over the place. They thought that the disturbed love sect master would avoid this, but they never thought that not only would he not do this, he would even publicly protect his disciple. Of course, when Xiaomo Xing heard Dong Xian say this, she was completely stunned. She had never thought that the man she admired so much would say such words to an ugly woman. It seems like Sect Master Dong really loves his disciple. Yi Jihan pursed his lips as a sharp look appeared in his dark eyes. The divination bell's last memory was of Luo Qingqin's aura on the witch race's clothes, so it couldn't be wrong. The person standing behind Dong Xian, although her face and voice were completely different from Luo Qingqin's, she couldn't even see through it with her spirit technique. But he was certain that that person was Luo Qingqin. The astrology bell had never rung by mistake, but she was a demon race's daughter. What was she doing here? It's natural for me to love my disciple. This is something Yi Patriarch doesn't need to worry about. Dong Xian walked to the high seat, and with a wave of his right hand, a light blue spiritual energy wiped away the dust. He said to Luo Qingshun beside him, "Come and sit." Right, everyone sit. Gulu came out to ease the atmosphere. Yi Patriarch, there's no need to be restrained. Our disturbed love sect has always been focused on cultivation. We don't have many rules. Chapter 1164. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes. When she looked up, she found that Yi Jihan was staring at her. The astrology bell on her waist rang. Even Dong Xian, who was sitting in a high seat, could hear it clearly. Could it be that he saw through her disguise? Yes, host. The Wu people have powerful divination abilities. The astrology bell is also the most precious treasure of the Wu people. Although they can't see through your disguise, the astrology bell can accurately sense your aura. WTF. System, you're so weak. This is a Xinxiao world. There are many treasures here. What does it have to do with me? The system spread its hands helplessly and showed an expression of being wronged. Dong Xian's eyebrows moved slightly. Under his sleeve, a faint white light fell on Luo Qingqin. The astrology bell on Yi Jihan's waist stopped ringing. Dong Xian's beautiful eyes narrowed. He picked up the spoon with his slender fingers and scooped up a bowl of cherry blossom soup. Then he put it in front of Luo Qingshun and said, "Your favorite." "Thank you, master." Luo Qingshun pursed her lips. She couldn't hide the smile on her face. She actually knew that it was Dong Xin who stopped the astrology bell, because she could clearly feel a touch of spiritual power passing in her right wrist, bringing with it a slight chill. At this time, Xia Mo Xing, who was sitting in the corner, couldn't help but stand up and say, "Ye patriarch, please don't make things difficult for our sect leader." She wore a feather blue dress. Her snow-white face stood in the wind. She was so righteous, so perfect. People couldn't help but want to stand up and applaud her. But Yi Jihan's next words turned the situation around in an instant. "Miss, do we know each other?" His voice was neither soft nor heavy, but every word was clearly enunciated, sonorous and forceful. "You." Xia Mo Xing's heart skipped a beat. She felt as if her heart was being hammered. The man in front of her used to love her so much and held her in the palm of his hand. No matter what she did wrong, he was always on her side. For her, he could abandon the #1 beauty of the Tiana continent, abandon his wife, and even use the Wu people's stop talisman to poison her, not hesitating to disperse her primordial spirit. Now, he was actually telling her that he didn't know her. The surrounding shareholders began to whisper. Luo Qing-chun took a sip of the peach blossom wine, and her lips curled into a faint smile. "It was truly a great show. I want to take back what I just said. It looks like Yi Patriarch doesn't know Xia Mo Xing at all. She's the one who's throwing herself at him." "I think so too. Back then, didn't she say that she was close to the sect leader? Looking at it now, it's definitely a lie. AI, as expected, people with a bit of good looks like this. She can't even compare to that ugly girl Qing." "Hey." Mu Huahua couldn't take it anymore and retorted, "You can discuss Xia Mo Xing if you want, but why are you dragging in our Qing?" Without knowing why, Mu Huahua couldn't get used to people talking about her little sister. Although they hadn't known each other for long, when she said, "Listen to me," that day, she felt that this girl was really handsome. She never thought that she went to the Disturbed Love sect to learn immortal techniques. She just wanted to complete her mother's last wish. Chapter 1165. Xia Mo Xing's face was pale at this time. She casually looked at Dong Xin, but she found that he was still giving food to his disciple. He didn't put her actions in his heart at all. She gritted her teeth and took a deep breath. "Yi Patriarch is right. I recognize the wrong person." "Unhumph." Yi Jihan gave a cold snort. "It seems like these Disturbed Love sect disciples are much worse than the rumors." When the elders heard this, their faces were filled with awkwardness. When Gu Lu wanted to say something to ease the atmosphere, there was a flash of red light in the sky. A penetrating sound rang out, and Luo Qingqin's fingers trembled as a faint Li Guang appeared in her eyes. The disciple guarding the gate tonight quickly flew down on his sword and said, "Reporting to the sect master, the demon race has gathered 20 kilometers away from the Disturbed Love sect. The demon race has sent people to inform us that they have already broken through the Wu people, and they want us to hand over Yi Patriarch." That group of demons actually dared to come to our Disturbed Love sect. Today, we will eliminate evil in the name of killing these demons without leaving a single one. A long sword instantly appeared in Gu Lu's hand. Everyone took out their weapons, wanting to fight to the death with them. At this time, Dong Xin calmly took a sip of tea and said, "Did you not hear what he said? It seems like he is targeting Yi Patriarch." When Dong Xin said this, Yi Jihan's face was a bit ugly. He already knew that the matter between him and Luo Qingchen would reach the demon race's ears, but he never thought that Feng Wuji would break through the Wu people. The Wu people's hell was easy to defend and hard to attack. It seemed like he knew about Luo Qingchen's matter and wanted to take revenge for her as a knight. Thinking of this, he felt very uncomfortable in his heart. After all, this man named Feng Wuji actually dared to snatch the bride on their wedding day. At that time, he was already vaguely concerned about it. Now that he heard this name, he was even more concerned about it. Sect Leader, Gu Lu requests to fight. Sect Leader, Bai Luo requests to fight. Sect Leader, San Tu requests to fight. Once they heard the word demon, the so-called righteous people would be filled with a sense of justice, as if they wanted to get rid of all the demons in the world. But this so-called sense of justice seemed a bit ridiculous in Dong Ji Xian's eyes. If you want to fight, then fight. Dong Ji Xian lazily narrowed his eyes and said, but before we go to war, don't you want to hear from me, patriarch, why the demon race, who have always been on good terms with the Wu people, would suddenly go to war with them? Is there something I don't know? As the only god in this world, he had to know why there was such a deep grudge between Yi Jihan and Feng Wuji. Even the demon race had to take the risk of the heavenly court taking advantage of the situation to eliminate the Wu people. It had to be known that although the demon race succeeded today, they must have suffered heavy losses. At this time, they still dared to come to the disturbed love sect to ask them to hand over Yi Jihan. This was enough to prove that the number one beauty of the Harmony continent, Yi Jihan's previous wife, had an important position in Feng Wuji's heart. The demon race has always been sinister. I'm afraid the Wu people have offended them, so they're being unscrupulous. One of the elders couldn't wait to get rid of the demon race, so he stood up and said this. Chapter 1166. Luo Qingshun looked up and her heart couldn't help trembling. She was very clear that this feeling didn't belong to her. Rather, it belonged to the previous host. After all, when a man in front of her said the word wife, the desire hidden in her heart couldn't be extinguished. But for Luo Qingshun, the Yi Jihan in front of her was just a scumbag. In her eyes, he was a man that could never be forgiven. Ding, 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 ding. The familiar sound of the zither rang out, and the new disciples all covered their ears. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes, and her lips slightly moved as she said, Silver Phoenix Zither. But even if it was a song she was familiar with, she could clearly feel that Feng Wuji's voice was trembling. He should have been injured. After all, compared to the gods and demons, the Wu people were indeed a bit weak. But to break through the Wu people in a short period of time, it should be a very difficult matter. Dong Ji Xian seemed to read her thoughts from her slightly open lips as he said, Feng Wuji is Feng Wuji in the end. I suddenly want to know what the number one beauty of the Harmony continent looks like. Startled, she abruptly turned her eyes and actually fell into his deep gaze. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 50%. I'm going to meet the left and right hands of the Demon Shadow Palace. I want to see what skills he has. Gu Lu gave a cold snort. The sword in his hand glowed with a faint blue light as he charged at the Silver Phoenix Zither. Mu Huahua knit her brows as the 1,000 piercing zither in her hand released a faint fighting spiritual energy. She pursed her lips as she looked at Luo Qingshun, like she was asking her with her eyes. Luo Qingshun shook her head, indicating that she shouldn't go. Mu Huahua lowered her head in a depressed manner. Although she was a bit unhappy, she still sat down and didn't follow her master like the other disciples of the Six Peaks. Luo Qingshun sighed softly. When she wanted to get up, Dong Ji Xian said something unexpected to her. You like him? His expression was indifferent, and his deep eyes carried a touch of indifference. In fact, he already knew her identity. When she and Feng Wuji were playing the zither in the cave, he saw that her identity was related to the devil race. Although he didn't know why he couldn't see through her, he knew that the face in front of him was just a mask. What kind of liking? She pursed her lips slightly and suddenly felt a little nervous. Because she only had 50% favorability, she was not sure what Dong Ji Xian wanted to say or do. However, she could see a faint trace of affection in those eyes that were as dark as the abyss. You know, he unconsciously picked up the wine cup and drank it in one gulp. It was like he hadn't drunk wine in several thousand years. He didn't like the smell at all, but he actually wanted to drink a few more cups at this moment. She softly blinked, and her clear eyes turned as she said, It seems like Master's memory isn't that good. What? I said that whether it is my heart or my feelings. She paused before continuing, It should be you. She said this because she knew that this person in front of her wanted to hear this answer. He was slightly taken aback, and a faint light flashed in his eyes that were as deep as the sea. Chapter 1167. His beautiful eyes trembled slightly, and he nodded his head as if nothing had happened. Me too. He had to admit that this was a very strange feeling. The first time would make one nervous, and heart palpitating. But he enjoyed this feeling very much. He enjoyed these words that he had never said in thousands of years. And Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and couldn't help smiling as she said, Master, so you said that I'm only half your disciple. Then what is the other half? After all, she was the one who said first, so it was only fair to give her enough of a response. With a soft sound, his right hand suddenly grabbed her wrist. His slender fingers grabbed her hand, and he looked at her without caring about anything as he said, this kind of relationship. It had to be said, Luo Qingshun only noticed this at this moment. When the cold and aloof Dong Ji Xian said these words, it sounded so gentle and nice. But in less than a second, she quickly pulled her hand back and said in a nervous voice, I got it. She just wanted to tease sect Master Dong, who was wooden with the word love, but she didn't know that when he was serious, he didn't need to tease her at all. What? He said with a faint smile. I never thought that you would be shy. Luo Qingshun touched her ear in embarrassment and changed the topic. Right, Master. Everyone is going. I'll go help the sixth elder. Now, that Feng Wuji was injured and the demon army had just gone through a battle. They must have been injured. They might not be a match for the elders of the disturbed love sect. Dong. In the next second, his right hand grabbed his wrist again. His deep eyes flashed with a faint light as he said, Are you sure you're going to help the sixth elder? You're not allowed to go. She wanted to say something, but Dongji Xian cut her off with a firm voice. Master, I want to go. Then I'll take your answer as a lie. His fingertips trembled slightly, and there was a touch of coldness in his voice. She knew very well who Feng Wuji was to her and what kind of feelings he had for her. I'm not lying. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said, Why don't you believe me? Then don't go. His tone seemed to back down as he sighed. If you don't go, I won't go either. Luo Qingshun was stunned. Apparently, she understood the meaning of winter solstice newspeak. If Dong Ji Xian went to participate in this war at this time, the demons had no chance of winning. But if he didn't go, even if Feng Wuji was injured, they would still be evenly matched with the disturbed love sect. But the spearhead of this incident is, all right. He tightened his grip on her hand and said helplessly, Then go, but you have to promise me one thing. What is it? You have to come back. Luo Qingshun raised her eyes slightly. Looking at the glimmer in his eyes, she suddenly had an impulse to hug him. But she knew that she couldn't do it now. In the future, it would be even harder in the future. People always said that demons and gods could not coexist. Right now, it was as if their words were true. But at this time, her story was always different from those demons and gods. What if I don't come back? She pursed her lips. Her eyes sparkled as her lips curled into a sweet smile. Oh, his tone was a little downcast, but the answer that followed was completely out of her expectations. Chapter 1168. Some people acted like they never said anything sweet, but when they really said it, it was so sweet that it entered people's hearts. Dong Ji Xian was probably this kind of person. Because of the seriousness of the situation, as soon as Luo Qingshun left, Yi Jihan followed behind. She wasn't sure if Yi Jihan had seen through her identity, but in front of Dong Ji Xian, she couldn't hide anything. The demon army was in a manor 20 miles away, so the yin qi was very heavy. If they had set up a barrier, other than the high immortal elders of the disturbed love sect, no one would be hard to deal with. If those shrimp soldiers wanted to deal with the demons, they would be using soft foundations. With a cold wind, Feng Wuji was sitting on a rock. The silver phoenix zither in his hand was glowing like the moon, and his silver hair fluttered in the wind. In a night that was as dark as ink, he looked like a youth that was glowing. Of course, this kind of Feng Wuji naturally became a thorn in the eyes of the disturbed love sex elders. Demon race demons, quickly give up, otherwise the disturbed love sect will make you disappear from the continent tonight. Gulu's voice had a strong, penetrating power, with the grandeur of a righteous man. Oh, a faint smile appeared on Feng Wuji's elegant and handsome face. His eyes that were like the starry sky narrowed as he said, Don't worry. Back then, the heavenly court's 100,000 elite soldiers and high immortals attacked my demon shadow palace. Didn't they still come out on top? Old man, Could it be you're even stronger than the heavenly emperor? Since Luo Qingxuan married Yi Jihan, his heart had been a bit unsettled. He thought that it was just his own wishful thinking, so he had reservations about this uneasiness. But the news that he sent to the Wu people brought back made him want to cut Yi Jihan into 10,000 pieces. The girl that he pampered was actually being treated like this by such a scum. If Yi Jihan didn't die, what qualification did he, Feng Wuji, have to say that he loved Luo Qingxuan? Gulu's expression was a bit ugly since Feng Wuji was speaking the truth. They were only a group of cultivators, and the person they were dealing with was the head of the demon race, as well as tens of thousands of demon soldiers. I'll say one last time, I only want Yi Jihan. Feng Wuji's eyes turned cold, and he looked strangely handsome under the moonlight. It was like if one took another look, they would fall for this mysterious youth. Feng Wuji, since Chief Yi has come to the disturbed love sect, he is our honored guest. Gulu raised his spiritual sword to look at him. We definitely won't give him to you. Ha ha ha. Feng Wuji laughed in the sky, clan head. Is your disturbed love sect taking in a heartless man and a mistress? What nonsense are you spouting? It seems like you still don't know. Feng Wuji narrowed his cold eyes, and a chill came from his body. His lips slightly pursed as he said, Your disciple, in order to drive a wedge between the demon race and the Wu people, didn't hesitate to sell her body to Yi Jihan and do the things that you righteous people say goes against the will of the people. Does your old face feel any light? Humph. Gulu naturally knew a bit about the matter between Xia Mo Xing and Yi Jihan. He gave a cold snort and said, The demon race which seduced the patriarch first. My disciple was just doing her duty. That which deserves to die. Chapter 1169. There was no wall in this world that didn't have a crack. If the demons wanted to know the private matters of the righteous sects, they could find out with a bit of investigation. And this so-called Gulu, in Feng Wuji's eyes, he was also a scum. You. Gulu could clearly hear the meaning in his words. He gritted his teeth and said, Today I, Gulu, will take in a monster like you and exterminate the demons. Hee. A cold laugh rang out, and with two ding sounds, the sky instantly turned dark. Feng Wuji's slender fingers plucked the strings of the silver phoenix zither, and a heart-piercing melody attacked the disturbed love sect disciples. Those with weaker cultivations couldn't take the interference and attack of the god-punishing heart, and spat out blood. Damn! Gulu roared out, and the elders instantly formed a formation. They also took out the disturbed love sect's treasure, the reincarnation mirror, and attacked Feng Wuji. Feng Wuji's cold eyes narrowed. There was a sweet taste in his mouth, but he swallowed the blood. The disturbed love sect really was the disturbed love sect. The elders who weren't that skilled in immortal techniques gathered together, and adding in the power of the reincarnation mirror, they actually forced his silver phoenix zither back. But he definitely couldn't retreat. Now that Luo Qingxuan's life was unknown, he couldn't let Yi Jihan get away scot-free. He didn't know if he scattered his primordial spirit back then. Would his childhood sweetheart turn back? Most likely. She would still love Yi Jihan in the end. Otherwise, with her personality back then, how could she let him go? Interesting. Feng Wuji pursed his lips and revealed an evil, charming smile as he said, Since you're willing to give up your lives for Yi Jihan, then it's not a loss for me to die with you. After that, the moon-white glow of the silver phoenix zither changed color. There was a dark red glow around the zither that was filled with a bloody aura. You actually... Gulu's eyes opened wide as he looked at Feng Wuji in disbelief. He stood under the moonlight as his silver hair fluttered in the wind. There was a faint trace of blood on the corner of his lips as the silver phoenix zither released a sound that was like hell. Old Sixth, he wants to sacrifice the divine artifact. The third elder looked at Gulu. We will all die, how about we give Yi Jihan to them? Third brother is right. It's not worth it for us to be completely annihilated for the sake of the shaman tribe. Not to mention that Yi Jihan did betray those demon girls first with your disciple. No. Gulu firmly shook his head and roared. For justice, for the Tsang Mountains, Gulu's life is nothing. If Feng Wuji dares to sacrifice the divine artifact, then I'll keep him company. Luo Qingshun, who was standing under a camphor tree not far away, revealed a mocking smile. The common people of the world were really laughable. After that, she took out her original black dress and cloak from her portable space. With a wave of her right hand, she returned to her beautiful face. In an instant, there was a ding sound as the drunken dreams soared with a dark glow broke through Gu Lu and the others' array. Black feathers fell from the sky as she stood in front of Feng Wuji with narrowed eyes. The red mark between her eyebrows was faintly discernible, as if there was a faint golden color to it. Gu Lu was stunned, and the surroundings became silent. Everyone was stunned when they saw Luo Qingxin. After all, she was really too beautiful. Chapter 1170. Qingxun. Feng Wuji's face was pale, but he couldn't suppress the joy in his heart. His deep eyes were filled with her back. After that, she raised her left hand. She directly trapped Feng Wuji in the protective barrier she set up and softly said, "Heal yourself. If you dare do something stupid like sacrificing a divine artifact again, I definitely won't save you." As soon as her voice fell, her eyes fell onto Gu Lu as she said with a cold smile, "Elder Gu Lu really is a righteous person that protects the world. As the demon race's witch, I have to admire you." "Humph, I don't need your admiration." Gu Lu gave a cold snort. He held his chest as his body swayed a bit. The drunken dream's sword just now was just too strong. Luo Qingshun really was the hardest person to deal with among the demons. Just a single person like her could break the highest level array of their disturbed love sect. As expected, those people who hadn't become immortals couldn't even take a single attack from her. Hee. She looked up at him with a smile that was like a flower as she said, "May I ask if Miss Muing is considered a part of the world?" As soon as Luo Qingxun's voice fell, Gu Lu's face instantly turned incomparably pale. She paused before saying with a soft laugh, "How about I tell everyone this story?" Of course, he had learned this story from a system. Muing, Mu Huahua's mother, his wife. In the past, he wasn't an elder of the disturbed love sect. He was just a normal cultivator with a low aptitude. At that time, Muing was already a heavenly immortal, the celestial lamp fairy that protected the heavenly book pavilion, captivating the birds and shaming the flowers. There were many heavenly immortals that wanted her for a long time, but she didn't seem to care about these things at all, until the Western Queen Mother sent her to the lower realm to deal with a strange plague. At that time, she met Gu Tao, which was the current Gu Lu. At that time, Gu Lu was just a low-aptitude cultivator. He couldn't find the source of the plague, even if it happened. However, he was ambitious and had lofty ideals. He and Muing said that if he could become an immortal one day, he would take responsibility for the people of the world and save them from disaster. It was probably because of this reason that Muing had different feelings for him. But in the end, Gu Lu was just a cultivator. As long as he didn't become an immortal, he would never be together with Muing. But if they loved each other, on the night of their marriage, the Queen Mother knew that Mu Ying's relationship with a mortal. She was stripped of her immortal position, crippled of all her dermic powers, and would never be able to enter the heavenly court. The next day, the sex test, Mu's test love sect. For the sake of his own path to immortality, he left Mu Ying and took away Mu Ying's 1,000-piercing zither in order to pass the test. Of course, the 1,000-piercing zither was useless for Mu Ying, who didn't have any cultivation at that time. But Gu Lu taking her divine weapon and entering the disturbed love sect through the 1,000-piercing zither was an indisputable fact. After that, he became an immortal with his own abilities. But in the end, the 1,000-piercing zither couldn't become his divine weapon. I wonder if Mu Huahua knows about this. How will you tell her? Luo Qingshun narrowed her cold eyes, and her voice was filled with absolute taunting. Chapter 1171. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes. Seeing this kind of Mu Huahua, she suddenly couldn't bear it. But now, she was no longer the Qing that was in the same room as her. She was the demon race's first daughter, Luo Qingshun. Gu Lu, A person like you dying for the world. I'm afraid the world will feel that you're dirtying their land." Luo Qingxin nodded with a faint smile. Her narrowed eyes were incomparably cold. The disturbed love sex people looked at each other in blank dismay. Looking at Gu Lu, they all had different emotions in their eyes. Qingchun, Feng Wuji, seemed to have stabilized his injuries as he let out a long sigh. "Open the barrier. I'll take care of them. We'll talk after you open my barrier." She looked down at him and said, "Big brother, can you just stay here and not make people worry?" Towards Feng Wuji, she actually couldn't bear it in her heart. This was one of the few times she had met a supporting male lead like this. He was completely devoted to the original owner, but it was the original owner who had abandoned him. In her eyes, even if this kind of person didn't have love, they should have friendship. Are you worried about me?" She softly replied before saying, "We are friends." "Elder Gu Lu." A familiar voice rang out, breaking the current deadlock. Yi Jihan slowly walked out with a complicated look in his eyes. When he saw Luo Qingchun, that complicated look was gradually replaced by guilt and regret. "Yi Jihan!" Feng Wuji angrily roared out. He wanted to pick up the Silver Phoenix Zither to fight to the death with him. But this was Luo Qingchun's barrier, so he suddenly wasn't willing to break it. This was the first time that between him and Yi Jihan, she chose him. "Yi Patriarch." Gu Lu came back to his senses and didn't dare to look at Mu Huahua. He looked at Yi Jihan and said firmly, "Don't worry. Since I, Gu Lu, said that I will protect your safety, I will definitely do it." Old 6. You. At this moment, the rest of the elders appeared to be in a difficult position. But it was no wonder. After all, Yi Jihan had done such a thing and wanted them to risk their lives to protect him. It was really difficult for them. "Elders, there's no need to say anymore," Yi Jihan said with a soft nod. "I, Yi Jihan, am grateful for the disturbed love sect hospitality and thank everyone for everything you've done for me today. But what will come will come. As the leader of the Wu people, I have to face this." As his voice fell, he nodded slightly, looked at Luo Qingchun and said, "The grudge between us shouldn't involve others. Don't you agree? What I say doesn't count." Luo Qingchun's cold eyes had a faint glow as she said, "Our limitless big brother's words count." Feng Wuji, standing behind her, was stunned. His star-like eyes had a faint liguang as he looked at Luo Qingchun. He never thought that in front of Yi Jihan, Luo Qingchun would say something like this. "You." Yi Jihan looked deeply in her eyes and said, How do you want to solve this? One-on-one? Or a group fight?" She looked up with cold eyes and said with a smile of disdain, "I'm afraid of dirtying my hands." She was humiliating him in front of everyone. After all, he used to be the leader of the sorcerer tribe and was in his prime. "No matter what, I'm sincere." Chapter 1172. Yi Jihan pursed his lips and tightly clenched his fists. He did want this girl in front of him, but she had hurt his pride like this in front of everyone. As soon as her voice fell, her black feathered dress fluttered in the wind. She waved her right hand as she looked at Yi Jihan in front of her and said, "You were disloyal first, so I destroyed your Wu people. Whether you know this too late or not, I'm afraid you won't be able to do anything today. Qingchun, in the future, if you want to take revenge for your Wu people," she cut him off before continuing, "or you can bring the shrimp soldiers of the disturbed love sect or even the heavenly court with you. Luo Qingchun, will be waiting for you at the Demon Shadow Palace." As soon as her voice fell, she gave a cold snort and waved her right hand before flying off on her sword. In the battle between the disturbed love sect and the Wu people, Dongji Xian had never appeared from beginning to end. He really didn't care about the so-called heaven under heaven or even the so-called disturbed love sect. Then what did he do to her? Returning to the Demon Shadow Palace, Luo Zhuxin and Luo Yao Yu had gone to the Eastern Wasteland to find a 1,000-year lost divine weapon of the Harmony Continent, the Firmament Stone. This was a divine weapon that had disappeared from the Harmony Continent for a long time. It was said that it had appeared in the Eastern Wasteland before, so Luo Zhuxin brought Luo Yao Yu, who wanted to take credit with him. Luo Qingchun felt that this was good news. After all, she felt that it was better to not see her little sister. Ding-ling. A series of bead curtains rang out. She looked up to see Feng Wuji walking in. He was holding a pot of peach blossom wine in his hand, and his eyes were filled with gentleness. At that moment, Luo Qingxian felt that the previous host's eyes were unbelievable. After all, whether it was appearance, demeanor, or how good he was to her, Feng Wuji was countless times better than Yi Jihan. One could tell with a single glance that the previous host's eyes were very bad. However, there were some things she had to confess to Feng Wuji. After all, other than the male lead, he couldn't accept feelings that didn't belong to him. Regarding this point, she felt that she was a very upright person. In her eyes, since it was impossible to give the other party any response, she should contain the so-called hope in the cradle. There were some things that already had an answer in another parallel universe. Whether it was the original owner or Feng Wuji, they shouldn't be tangled up over this. Have a drink? He saw that she was in a daze, so he waved the wine glass in front of her eyes and said, "What are you thinking about?" Luo Qingqian stared blankly for a moment before regaining her composure. "Nothing. Let's have a drink." "You and Yi Jihan. Liangcha Meijing, why mention that scumbag?" Luo Qingqian pursed her lips and drank the peach blossom wine in one gulp. "I even gave him the divorce papers." "Ah." Feng Wuji looked at her in shock. Although he knew that Luo Qingqian left the Wu people, he always thought that she was driven away by Yi Jihan. But he didn't know that she was the one who gave him the divorce papers. Qing really is different from before. His mood was very good as his starry eyes faintly sparkled. Li Guang said, "I never thought that you would say that about Yi Jihan." The scene of her resolute decision to marry Yi Jihan was still fresh in his mind. Even when half of his primordial spirit was scattered, she still didn't change her mind. But now, Chapter 1173. What? He was clearly stunned, and the hand holding the wine glass trembled slightly. Luo Qingqian let out a long sigh and looked at him. "Feng Wuji, there are some things that you might not believe even if I say it. Do you still want to listen?" In the end, for Feng Wuji, she still said some things that she wouldn't tell anyone else here. "If you say it, I'm willing to listen." She didn't know if it was because he drank, but his cheeks were slightly red and his eyes were indescribably deep. "I am Luo Qingqian, but I'm not her." She turned her eyes and looked at him as she said word by word seriously. "The Luo Qingqian that you like has already been killed by Yi Jihan and Xiaomo Xing in another world. Right now, the Luo Qingqian in front of you has never loved Yi Jihan." She was very clear that Feng Wuji might not understand what she was saying. After all, she had this body and all of the previous owner's memories. The so-called other her was too much of a stretch. But she didn't know that after a while, Feng Wuji gave a self-deprecating smile and slightly nodded. "No wonder. I said that between Yi Jihan and me, she wouldn't choose me." She could hear a faint sense of loss from his tone. After all, if Luo Qingqian wasn't his childhood sweetheart, then no matter what the person in front of him did, it wouldn't have any meaning to him. "Ah." Luo Qingqian heard this and was a bit stunned. She blinked and the corners of her mouth rose as she said, "I'm very surprised that you can understand what I'm saying." This person, Feng Wuji, really made her have a whole new level of respect for him. As expected, in her eyes, this kind of youth wouldn't have a low IQ. "You really think too highly of me." Feng Wuji narrowed his eyes, and there was a faint change in his originally gentle eyes. It was as if he was looking at her. "So, do you still remember what happened between us in the past?" "Oh, brother." Luo Qingqian picked up the wine glass in her hand and shook it in front of him. "I remember a lot of things. For example, when you were young, you liked to wear red underwear." Oh, in the next second, Feng Wuji's large hand covered her mouth. His deep eyes sparkled as he looked at her and said, "You're not as obedient as her." Lu. Luo Qingqian raised her right hand and chuckled. "People often say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's normal that I'm not as obedient as her." Although she said so on the surface, in his memory, she had almost destroyed his primordial spirit. How could such a person be obedient? To be serious, not only did she safely bring him back to the Demon Shadow Palace from the disturbed love sect, She even beat his love rival to death. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that she was much more well-behaved than the original owner. However, what I want to know is, he looked up and continued, "Why are you telling me this? If she didn't say it, he wouldn't have been able to tell. Because I don't want to waste your feelings." She gave a shrug as a faint blush appeared on her white as snow face. Her lips curled as she said, "After all, your feelings for her are too deep. I'm afraid I can't handle it." Cuckoo. He cleared his throat and looked at her with a gentle smile. It seems like little sister Qingshun is very timid. He also felt it was strange that she said she wasn't that person. There was a faint sadness in his heart, but his heart trembled when he saw her smile. Chapter 1174. Little sister Qingshun. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said, "This is your new nickname for a new person like me?" She had to admit that she admired Feng Wuji very much. It had been a long time since she admired someone other than the male lead. Of course, admiring someone was not related to any emotions. It was just pure admiration. "You're already calling me Big Brother Limitless. Shouldn't I take you as a little sister?" Feng Wuji revealed a faint smile and patted her head in a pampering manner. "No matter how ridiculous your words are, I will protect you like before." She was a bit surprised. Looking at his eyes that were like stars, she felt a bit uneasy at the same time in the disturbed love hall. There was a reflection of Feng Wuji and Luo Qingshun in the clear water. A certain person narrowed his eyes and waved his right hand, scattering the water. 3 days later, the Heavenly Court's immortals were planning to attack the Demon Shadow Palace for the Wu people. Among them, there was naturally the disturbed love sect that was helping them. After Luo Qingshun learned of this matter, she immediately set up a barrier around the Demon Shadow Palace. But the news her father Luo Zhuxin sent back made her knit her brows. The firmament stone had been found in the eastern desolate wasteland, but the first to find it was not them, but rather Western Queen Mother's Meng Xian. In the end, they were a step too late. If the demon race and god race were evenly matched before, now that they had the firmament stone, the Heavenly Court's chances of winning had increased. Adding in the fact that they had suffered heavy losses to the Wu people, they were still recovering. The Heavenly Court was working with the disturbed love sect to attack them. It really was a good time. "Your Highness, Limitless Sword God, the demons are on standby. They can fight at any time." Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes and looked at Feng Wuji as she asked, "When will Father and the others come back?" "It will take at least 3 days." Feng Wuji conjured the silver phoenix Guqin in his right hand. He looked at her and said, "Don't panic. I will protect you." People often say that a serious woman is the most beautiful. Although Luo Qingshun had a devastatingly beautiful face, this was the first time he had seen her so seriously thinking of countermeasures. She didn't blame him for destroying the Wu people. Instead, she tried her best to deal with the trouble he caused. Why did she feel like she was even more charming than her childhood sweetheart? "I'm afraid it won't be that simple this time." Luo Qingshun frowned and said, "Father actually sent the divine bird back to inform us about the firmament stone. He must be telling us that the other party's ability is now above ours. The current demon race can't fight the Heavenly Court, not to mention the disturbed love sect." She expressed that her analysis was absolutely correct. Moreover, she wasn't sure if Dongji Xian would participate in the great war of gods and devils. If he participated, the Demon Shadow Palace wouldn't have any chance of winning. The Heavenly Court is using the Wu people as an excuse to destroy us. Feng Wuji narrowed his cold eyes and softly said, "I won't let them do as they wish." The Wu people were destroyed by him. Since it was like this, even if it was a blood sacrifice to the divine weapon, even if his primordial spirit scattered, he had to ensure the safety of Luo Qingshun and all the demons. Chapter 1175. As the gods and demons fought, the world changed color. The Heavenly Court's hundreds of thousands of heavenly soldiers arrived at the Demon Shadow Palace, leading the immortals and cultivators of the disturbed love sect to attack the barrier. Ding-ling. Feng Wuji's zither music filled the air, and everyone retreated hearing this. He was wearing a water blue brocade robe, and his silver white hair gave off an aura normal people couldn't compare to. The silver phoenix zither in his hand released a dazzling white light, and the powerful music formed layers of barriers on the barrier. Feng Wuji, you destroyed the Wu people first. Now that we are surrounding your demon race, what else do you have to say? Yin Jiang narrowed his eyes. He was wearing a suit of armor and had a heaven-race treasure sword in his hand. Every word had the unique dignity of a righteous man. Yin Jiang was the Western Mother Empress's most powerful general. His path to becoming an immortal had been smooth. He didn't eat the bitterness of the world, only knowing that every demon should be killed. Yo. Feng Wuji's beautiful eyes narrowed, and he had an evil, charming smile as he looked at him. This armored man, the focus of your words really makes me think that you are the bastard child of the Wu people. Ha 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 ha. As soon as Feng Wuji's voice fell, the demons broke out in laughter. They raised their weapons and shouted, "The demon race will win! The demon race will win! The demon race will win!" Yun Jiang narrowed his eyes, a heavy killing intent flashing through his eyes as he said, "Wait a moment. When the barrier is broken and the corpses of the demon race are strewn all over the place, let's see if you can still laugh." For him, he was born with justice. The existence of any demon was an insult to the world. If they lived, it would only make the world incomparably dark and dirty. Relax. After that, Feng Wuji looked up and said, "Even if I die, you will be buried with me." As soon as his voice fell, the silver phoenix zither's heaven-destroying melody sounded, and the sky above the demon shadow palace turned dark. It had to be said, Feng Wuji's mastery of music had reached the peak. Each note could pass through layers of defenses and attack the enemy's brain. "Everyone, I will count to 3, and we will break his barrier." Gu Lu stood on the other side, leading all the disturbed love sex cultivators to participate in this battle. Naturally, this included Xia Mo Xing and Mu Huahua. Xia Mo Xing snickered as she looked at the demon shadow palace. The sorcerer tribe was destroyed, and the heavenly court was attacking the demon tribe. Everything she hated would disappear. From then on, she would be a cultivator as clean as a clear spring, forever staying in the disturbed love sect, staying by Dong Jiexion's side. At the beginning of the story, this was what she thought of it. At that time, she was punished in the heavenly court for plotting against the Queen Mother of the West's most beloved, Wu Wu. She was sent to the realm of lightning to be struck by 33 small thunderbolts. When she couldn't take it anymore, Dong Jiaxian, who happened to pass by the heavenly world, waved his right hand and blocked the final bolt of lightning for her. At that time, the only god of the Harmony continent was an existence like faith to her. It was probably at that time that her gaze had been following him, until she went to find the Western Mother Empress to do something for the heavens in exchange for becoming the disturbed love sex fairy. But she didn't know that damn Luo Qingshan would cripple her cultivation. She could only enter the disturbed love sect as a normal disciple. Chapter 1176. Because the righteous people kept attacking the barrier, Luo Qingshan, standing on the side, could clearly feel that the barrier couldn't hold on any longer. But because of Feng Wuji's silver phoenix zither, those people with lower cultivations couldn't fight at all after hearing the zither's raging sounds. The hardest ones to take care of right now were Yun Jiang and Gu Lu. After all, although Gu Lu's peak didn't have many capable people, Gu Lu's cultivation technique was the demon race's biggest nemesis. In other words, the elders of the disturbed love sect chose cultivation techniques to become gods, and Gu Lu chose cultivation techniques to eradicate the demon race. These 2 points had a large difference. To put it simply, when Gu Lu was dealing with the demon race, he was much stronger than the other elders of the disturbed love sect. Pong! After that, there was a giant sound as the demon race's barrier was broken. The demon race generals vigilantly took a step back. Luo Qingshan narrowed her eyes and jumped onto the high platform. She waved her right hand, and the exquisite ring on her hand released a faint golden glow. "Demon girl, you finally appeared." Yin Jiang looked at her, and an aggressive aura flashed in his eyes as he looked at her, and said, I've heard that you were the first to cultivate the red demon in the younger generation, but you don't seem that good." It was clear that Yunjiang had an aura of disdain for women. In his eyes, men were indomitable, and as for women, they just needed to stay home and sew. As for women of the demon race, as long as they could make men happy, wasn't that something they should do since they were born? What, one-on-one? Luo Qingchun raised a brow as her eyes filled with an absolute aura. As expected, at least in this place, the so-called righteous people were really annoying. Yunjiang immediately said, "Are you certain you want to fight me one-on-one? Even if you use a beauty trap, you won't be able to make me happy. After all, I'm not a man of your demon race. It's only in certain aspects that I work hard. You're seeking death." Feng Wuji couldn't listen to Yunjiang's insults to Luo Qingchun as his slender fingers began to play on the silver phoenix zither. A strong power charged at Yunjiang. He was stunned for a moment before he raised the sword in his hand to block it. Little did he know that the two immortal disciples beside him were not so lucky. They held their chest and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Yunjiang gritted his teeth and said, "What? Didn't we agree on a one-on-one duel? Now you're asking a man to do it for you." Before Yunjiang's words finished, Luo Qingchun's assess strength. Luo Qingchun's assess. Luo Qingchun jumped out, and the black feathers in the sky slowly floated down. She calmly looked at him and said, "Could it be that you haven't heard of this before? If you can fight, then don't talk nonsense." Her voice fell as her drunken dreams sword appeared in her right hand. Her hand glowed with red light, and her whole body emitted waves of hostility. It seemed that at this very moment, she and Yunjiang would have a life or death ending. Since the other party wanted to kill her, why should she be merciful? Yunjiang touched his right cheek, his eyes filled with surprise. Just now, what kind of treasure did Luo Qingchun use? Her speed was so fast. He vaguely saw a golden light flash in front of his eyes, and he had already received 2 slaps. Chapter 1177. But even if it was a bit difficult, he had no other choice. This person in front of him was only Luo Zhuxin's daughter. If he couldn't even beat her, wouldn't it be impossible for him to take down the demon race? This was the long-cherished wish of his entire life. Now that he had reached the point where the enemy was at his doorstep, he absolutely could not shrink back. In the next second, he stood with his hands behind his back and jumped in front of her. He looked at her and said, "Demon race, why aren't you? Xiao, xiao, xiao." Before he even finished speaking, Luo Qingchun's drunken dreams sword attacked him. Her speed was so fast that he couldn't react to it. Her eyebrows slightly moved, and the corner of her mouth drew a beautiful arc. "Didn't I tell you not to talk nonsense when you can fight?" This faint smile actually caused the 3 men present to be startled. Standing at the back was the so-called Wu People's clan leader, Yi Jihan, and Feng Wuji behind her. And then there was Yunjiang in front of her. This was the first time he looked at a demon in a different light. But he didn't know that this feeling came too quickly. Before he could react, Luo Qingchun's drunken dream sword had already stabbed into his body. The air was filled with the smell of blood. She sneered, "You want to open a dye house without any strength? You're really hitting your face until it's swollen to look impressive." Her voice was very low. As soon as she finished speaking, she pulled out the drunken dream's sword. Yunjiang's blood dripped onto the rock. In reality, she still let him live. After all, when they fought, he didn't kill her. Gu Lu saw Yunjiang fall after a few rounds, and his heart suddenly panicked. In the next second, he raised the sword in his hand and said, "Let's kill our way in." Even if Luo Qingchun's strength was much higher than he thought, he couldn't back down. This time, they had twice as many soldiers as the previous batch of demons. In this situation, no matter how strong Luo Qingchun and Feng Wuji were, they couldn't escape unscathed. But the facts were like this. When the 2 armies fought, the drunken dream's sword in Luo Qingchun's hand was covered in blood. Each drop of blood was the blood of a righteous person. But when she met Mu Hua Hua, she still stopped. Mu Hua Hua was stunned, as if she could feel a strange, familiar feeling. Although she had returned to her original appearance, there was still a faint cherry blossom aura around her. After a few seconds, Mu Hua Hua looked at her in shock. You are. She frowned slightly and waved her right hand. There was only strength and no magic to knock her out of the battlefield. After all, she was her first female friend in this world. After all, she would always be the first to speak up for her whenever she was criticized by others. After all, she was a good person. At the same time, the disturbed love dong, Xin, changed out of the white clothes he liked to wear and put on a cold black robe, walking towards the extreme abyss step by step. This was a place that humans, demons, and immortals all feared, but he was different. The extreme abyss was at the border of the Harmony continent. There were many things one could do there that couldn't be done anywhere else. For example, personally erasing one's divinity. Without the mark of a god, people with techniques would directly fall to the ground and become demons. Since ancient times, this place was used to punish immortals who made big mistakes. They were called sinful gods. After a day and night of divine thunder and fire, they would slowly lose their divinity, becoming half human and half demon. Chapter 1178. At the same time, at the entrance of the Demon Shadow Palace. Although a large number of demons were resisting with all their might, they were still not inferior to the heavenly soldiers. Luo Qingqian already did not know how many people she had killed. She only knew that at this moment, she felt like she was an extreme killer. She killed people, she killed gods. Qingqian, I'm afraid we have to retreat. Feng Wuji waved the silver phoenix zither in his right hand. A faint white light wrapped around her waist, bringing her to his side. You go first, I'll take care of the rest. She bit her lips. She still wanted to continue fighting. But seeing the demons fall one by one, she knew that 50,000 demon soldiers could not defeat 100,000 heavenly soldiers. Moreover, her and Feng Wuji's abilities were above the immortals, but the demon soldiers' abilities were not above the heavenly soldiers. When two armies fought, it was not just one person fighting. In a battle, the general's bravery and invincibility did not guarantee victory. I don't feel at ease leaving you alone. Let's go together. Luo Qingqian's cold eyes narrowed. The exquisite ring on her right hand was already covered in blood. She raised her hand and said, All demon soldiers listen. We're retreating. Want to run? Impossible. When Luo Qingqian's voice fell, a strange voice slowly sounded. The originally dark and gloomy sky instantly became incomparably bright. A woman wearing 100 fairy dress with scattered flowers, mist, and grass appeared in the sky, holding a stone that people could not look at directly. Oh no, they found a firmament stone. Feng Wuji quickly pulled Luo Qingqian behind him, frowning. Hurry and leave. The firmament stone, is it that powerful? She bit her lips, looking at the stone. The exquisite ring on her hand emitted a faint burning sensation. This was probably the indescribable connection between divine artifacts. Even if they were divine artifacts of different worlds, they still had this connection. In an instant, that fairy ran to Yun Zhang's side, slowly hugging him. As if she said something in his ear, her eyes filled with killing intent. Demons, I will let you know the price you have to pay for hurting my big brother Yun. The firmament stone was destroyed. Blood dyed the river of stars. Demons all scattered. Qingqian bang. After a loud noise, Luo Qingqian's vision became incomparably bright. At the last moment, she suddenly raised the exquisite ring, trying her best to block the firmament stone's damage. She wanted to protect every soldier of the demon race, but she wanted to protect Feng Wuji even more. However, for some reason, she did not feel any pain at this moment. Instead, she could feel that someone was hugging her tightly. In an instant, the white light disappeared. The surrounding demon clans, people all fell to the ground, but they didn't seem to be in any danger. Her exquisite ring opened a protective barrier in midair, protecting their lives. But she had been protected by that silly Feng Wuji. After all, the firmament stone was aimed at her. There was only one way to deal with an ancient artifact. The blood sacrifice could only block the first attack of the firmament stone. But he still did it in that instant without hesitation. He fell to the ground covered in blood. The silver phoenix zither in his hand was already shattered. His silver hair, soaked in his blood, was instantly dyed red. Luo Qingxin's heart suddenly jumped. She rushed to Feng Wuji's side and hugged him. She only felt his weak aura dissipating bit by bit, but he still seriously held her hand. Chapter 1179. Luo Qingxin was very clear that Feng Wuji had sacrificed his blood to the Silver Phoenix Zither, which was why he blocked the first attack of the Firmament Stone. As for him, his primordial spirit had already been scattered. Right now, he only had one breath left, but there were too many things he wanted to say in his heart. I won't let you die. Luo Qingxin narrowed her eyes. Her clear eyes were covered in a layer of mist. I'm not afraid of dying. Feng Wuji's lips curved into a beautiful arc as he looked at her and said, I've always been thinking, why was it that when I went to steal the bride, I only scattered half of my original and didn't die? Now, I think I know the answer. Because in this life, there was still one person he hadn't met. Now, he had met her. In the next second, Luo Qingxin's right hand withdrew and the exquisite ring returned to her hand. She didn't say anything else as she put the ring on Feng Wuji's ring finger. Looking at her, she said word by word seriously, I definitely won't let you die. The system had once told her that the exquisite ring had the ability to condense primordial spirits. But the success rate of condensing a primordial spirit wasn't high. It depended on one's luck. Qingxin, little sister, Feng Wuji's body had already begun to scatter a star-like blue light. He looked at her with a gentle smile and said, I'll say something now. You won't be angry at me, right? But actually, if she was angry, you wouldn't be able to see it. You say, Luo Qingxin bit her lips, her eyes filled with mist. In the end, she hadn't been able to protect Feng Wuji. It could even be said that she had been protected by him. I like you. He closed his eyes, as if he didn't dare to look at her eyes, his long eyelashes lightly trembling. He seemed very tired, as if once he closed his eyes, he didn't have the strength to open them again. Luo Qingxin's entire body froze. She wanted to say something, but his following words made her unable to say anything. It's you, not her. This was the last sentence he said to her. It was also the sentence that he wanted to say the most from the bottom of his heart. He wasn't lying. Not all feelings were the same from beginning to end. Some people, once missed, would never be able to return. Half of his primordial spirit was sacrificed to his first love, but he gave his life to another person. He had never regretted any of the things he had done, but the latter he was so willing to do. The person who was afraid of death was not him, but the person he wanted to protect. Why aren't you surrendering? The fairy called man Luo looked at her with extreme hatred. It was an expression that said she wanted to kill her. She sneered and the red mark between her eyebrows gradually turned golden. A drop of golden tear fell from her eyes as she stared at her and said, Surrender without putting up a fight. I want all of you to be buried with him. In an instant, the drunken dream's sword in her hand glowed with a faint golden light, and boundless power burst forth from her body. Oh no, she's going to become a gold devil. What? Gu Lu was stunned. His eyes lit up as he said, Disturbed love sect disciples, we're retreating. There had only been a single gold devil on the Harmony continent. That person had destroyed the heavenly court and the entire continent. After tens of thousands of years, everything had a new lease of life. As for Luo Qingxin, perhaps she wanted to destroy this world more than him. Ha ha ha. Her lips curled into a cold smile as she looked at them and said in a low voice, You think you can run? Chapter 1180. That young man in black clothes slowly walked towards her step by step. He didn't have any immortal aura around him, but that bewitching face made people unable to look away. Ding, affection has increased by 20. Mission completion rate is now 90%. She didn't know why he gave her affection at this moment. She was clearly standing on the cliff covered in blood, stepping on the corpses of cultivators. But at this moment, he actually added favorability points to her. Sect Master, which, I'm afraid you have to take back what you just said. With Sect Master Dong here, how can a monster like you be allowed to run wild? Demons, today is the day you all die. Don't be sad. You'll all be reunited soon. Sect Master Dong. Xiaimo Xing, who was standing at the back, suddenly charged out. She looked at him with a gentle face and said, "You have to be careful, this witch. I think you've misunderstood." He looked up with cold eyes that had a trace of dark red in them. He crossed his hands and said, "I'm here to find my disciple." In that instant, everyone revealed looks of confusion. Those who hadn't noticed that something was wrong with Dong Xin just now showed a horrified expression at this moment. Sect Master, you went to the endless abyss. Why? Sect Master, why did you cut off your own divinity? Everyone looked at Dong Xin in disbelief, but he didn't explain a single word. He turned around step by step and looked at Luo Qingshun as he said in a hoarse voice, "I said it before, if you don't come find me, I'll come find you." At this time, Xiaimo Xing's right hand was on her chest. Her eyes were filled with panic as she looked at Dong Xin and said, "Sect Master, why are you saying this? Who are you looking for? How could you know this witch?" Pong. A strong force hit Xiaimo Xing's chest. She felt the ground with a dong sound. Her eyes rolled back and her body trembled a few times, without a trace of life. "I know you don't like her. Killing someone like her will only dirty your hands. I'll help you." Dong Xiexion's words made everyone present, including Luo Qingshun, who was covered in blood, startled. The Dong Xixian in front of him had an indescribable feeling, as if he was a young man who had just walked out of hell. For her, he had lost all his light and accompanied her into the abyss. Dong Xixian, as the only god in the Tina continent, you're really embarrassing yourself. Before Man Luo could finish her words, a red and black light tightly gripped her neck. She panicked and directly threw the firmament stone in Dong Xiexion's direction. What he didn't know was that Dong Xixian snorted coldly and a disdainful smile appeared on his face. He raised his right hand, and a bang resounded in everyone's ears. The so-called number 1 divine artifact of the Harmony continent disappeared into thin air just like that. In the next second, the reddish-black light pierced through Manro's heart. The immortals were by her side, but they couldn't do anything. They could only watch her die. Before, there was only one gold demon, Luo Qingshun, who was difficult to deal with. Now, there was Dong Xixian, who had already become a god. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They wanted to retreat, but they knew that the other party wouldn't give them a chance to do so. Chapter 1181. Qingshun is right. When have you ever let the people who love you have hope in you? Dong Xiexin's cold eyes narrowed, and the corner of his mouth outlined a lazy arc. His left fingertip slightly turned and fell to the ground Feng Wuji, whose primordial spirit had almost dissipated. In an instant, everyone's eyes fell on Mu Huahua. She took a step back in confusion, and there was a protective boundary that Luo Qingshun gave her to prevent her from being hurt when she was no match for the demon. In fact, when she felt the cherry blossom aura of the protective boundary, she knew that Luo Qingshun was Qing, who had been with her day and night. However, just now, during the great war of gods and demons, her so-called father only had killing in his eyes, and he didn't care about her life or death at all. And the so-called demon race, which, because she was her friend, she protected her invisibly. What was good? What was evil? She seemed to have a little bit of distinction. So what? She is a cultivator, and she will always be a cultivator. Galu glanced at Mu Huahua and said, "We are not the same kind of people as you." This was probably the first time that Gulu faced the problem between him and Mu Huahua so directly, and the words he said were really not so nice to hear. Ha ha! In the next second, Mu Huahua's mocking laughter came in the air. She picked up the 1,000-piercing zither and walked in the direction of Luo Qingshun step by step. As she walked, she didn't forget to say, "Please don't say we, because I am not the same kind of people as you." As soon as her voice fell, she was already standing firmly beside Luo Qingshun. Her eyes were full of tears, and she bit her lips and whispered to the person beside her, "Qing, I'm sorry." In fact, she didn't need to be sorry at all. Luo Qingshun was very clear that in the great war of gods and demons, just now, every time she was in danger, there would always be a zither sound from an unknown place. This zither sound was very different from the silver phoenix zither, and she could feel the difference. She also knew that she was silently protecting her. This was probably the kind of mysterious friendship that could not be explained clearly. Even if you were standing on opposite sides, the other party would still think for you, unlike the so-called kinship between her and Gu Lu. Gu Lu took a deep breath and said, Dong Jixian, you're the only god in Tianhe continent. How much effort did you put in to become a god? How many tribulations did you pass? Now you're willing to abandon the disturbed love sect you built for a demon girl. In the next second, Gu Lu couldn't continue. This was because Dong Jixian's actions had completely stunned everyone from both the immortal and devil sects. His right hand gently brushed her cheek, and her devastatingly beautiful face was reflected in his eyes. His left hand circled around her waist and pulled her into his embrace. His beautiful eyes stared at her lips seriously, and without another word, he kissed her. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 100%. He could feel the cherry blossom scent between her lips and teeth, as well as her face turning red. The hand holding the drunken dream's sword suddenly trembled. Dong Jixian didn't reply to Gu Lu at all. Rather, he used his actions to prove whether it was worth it or not. In his eyes, Luo Qingqian's appearance had taken away all his worth. As long as it was her, anything was worth it. You. When the elders saw this, they were almost angered to death. Chapter 1182. Luo Qingqian suddenly looked up and saw a faint golden glow on his forehead. That faintly discernible light reflected an incomparably noble identity. You are. At that moment, even Luo Qingqian was shocked. The only god of the Harmony continent, the aloof god, was actually the demon that destroyed this world tens of thousands of years ago. The immortals couldn't help taking a step back as they looked at Dong Jixian in fear. His cold eyes narrowed, and his voice had a trace of laziness as he looked at her. Becoming a demon or a god is just an instant for me. I don't care. Dong Jixian, don't act recklessly. Gu Lu led the disturbed love sect disciples as he looked at him with vigilance. I respect you as the sect master. How can you abandon the world? The world? He gave a cold laugh. In the cold wind, the snow fell, revealing his sculpted face. The next second, he continued, When have you ever seen me save the world? Everyone had their own destiny. In Dong Jixian's eyes, whether it was the higher or lower realms, they all had things to do. Whether they lived or died, it all depended on their own fortune. He was the golden demon that had destroyed the world. Why would he care about the lives of the world? After all, the Dong Jixian of that time was invincible. He could kill anyone and save anyone. To him, this was just a thought. It didn't have any meaning. That's right. His life didn't have any meaning. When he was standing at the end of the scale, when all the righteous people of the Harmony continent took it as their duty to kill him, it was as if his appearance was a way for them to spread justice, and his death was a merit for eliminating evil for the people. The him of that time was invincible on the Harmony continent. Since this world wanted to kill him, he might as well destroy this world. Of course, the only ones he destroyed were the demons and the lower realms. In the following tens of thousands of years, he hid the demon aura around him and used his extraordinary talent to dual cultivate. It wasn't long, but it wasn't short. 10,000 years later, he succeeded. Not only did he become the only god of the Harmony continent, he was also the most terrifying golden demon. You can't do this, you. You will be punished by the heavens. Gu Lu was completely speechless at this moment. After all, for him, or perhaps for Heavenly Court, there was no chance of winning. The firmament stone was destroyed, and they couldn't even take care of Luo Qingqian. Not to mention the addition of Dong Jixian. What can you do about what I want to do? He turned over, and his beautiful eyes fell onto Luo Qingqian. His lips curled slightly as he said, The important thing is, what kind of result does my disciple want? Disciple? At that moment, everyone of Heavenly Courts of Heavenly Court. Heavenly Court, Qing looked at Qing's rights Qing Li. Luan at Luo, Luan. When Xiao Xing died, he didn't even feel this bad. It was as if a person who had always loved him deeply in the past had finally left him after he had hurt her again and again. This time, she didn't look back. You actually, Peng. Gulu wanted to say something, but he was already drowned out by an earth-shattering sound. The sky was filled with white and blue as the sea and sky merged. Chapter 1183. Luo Qingshun didn't understand how Dongji Xian did it. She only knew that after that explosion, there were no demons or gods left. Everyone lost their memories, lost their magic, and sank to the lower realm. In the blink of an eye, 3 years passed. Forgotten River City was very lively today. There were firecrackers and little children playing around with candy haws. This seemed to be the new year of the lower realm. Oh, it couldn't be considered the lower realm now, since there was no heavenly court or demon shadow palace in this world. Luo Qingshun was wearing a set of dark blue men's clothes as she sat in front of Dong Jixian. She took a sip of the peach blossom wine and said with a faint smile, "There seems to be a performance on the South Street tonight. It's said to be the Heavenly Peach Banquet." Dong Jixian looked up with a faint smile. "Do you want to see it?" "You don't want to?" "I do." Dash ding, 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 ding. Bold demon, daring to break into the heavenly court. Where do you place the Western Queen Mother? Ding, 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 ding. Stop wasting words. Let's fight if you want. Luo Qingshun looked over and looked at the so-called righteous people. One of them was the famous Gu Lu of the disturbed love sect. The man who abandoned his wife and daughter. If one had to say who Luo Qingshun hated the most in this world, it should be Gu Lu. This hatred was not related to the previous host. It was just her hatred for this kind of person. He himself was a person with immoral values, yet he still thought that he was the savior of all living beings in the world. The Western Queen Mother in the middle is the Heavenly Court's Western Queen Mother. Dong Jixian gently took her waist and looked down as he whispered in her ear. "Speaking of which, she is quite pitiful. She probably doesn't even know why she fell to the lower realm." Luo Qingshun gave a shrug as her lips curled. "But speaking of this, since you're so strong, why did you leave a lower realm?" Since the demon god war, Luo Qingshun felt that she had completely underestimated Dong Jixian, a person who was at the peak of both the demon and god spirit books, a man who could take away a world with a wave of his hand. Why didn't he become a bit abnormal and not even let the lower realm go? "You really want to know?" He looked up with eyes as bright as stars. Without any hesitation, he looked into her eyes and said something that completely stunned her. "I want to leave a place to spend the rest of my life with you." These were probably the most profound words of love she had ever heard him say in this plane. Perhaps there was that sentence, "If you won't come, then I'll come find you." They had lived a long time. They had been born, T's born. This heavenly court this was. However, they did not find eternity. Their lives would eventually come to an end. And the celestials, this. Est, Teed, his robes were as white as snow, and his silvery hair was so enchanting. It was rumored that his favorite musical instrument was a zither. The body of a zither was as translucent as white snow. Every wave and every string carried a faint trace of sadness. He came and went without a trace. No one knew where he was. They only knew that he was the world's strongest celestial. They only knew that he often brought 2 jugs of wine to a blue sea filled with the forgetting river realm. There were 2 crystal-like divine steels, engraved with 2 names that had been forgotten by mortals. Chapter 1184. You turned your face, I closed my eyes, and when I woke up, it was already autumn. Feng Wuji when I was born, I was a silver phoenix, different from my brothers and sisters, so I was called a variant of the phoenix race. When I was 10 years old, they always liked swords or whips. I chose a zither, a peachwood zither with a bit of spiritual power. But compared to those swords, it was so insignificant. All of my brothers and sisters mocked me, saying that someone like me did not have the right to become an immortal. Reality proved that I did not become an immortal, because I fell into the demon path. That was when I was 16 years old. A single glance changed my life. Although my feathers were silver, my spiritual techniques were no worse than the other phoenixes. Thus, I was the most powerful phoenix during the battle between the righteous and evil sections. Because I was strong, I was taken care of by the demon race. The phoenix race was not a match for the demon shadow palace, so we scattered and I became the most eye-catching target. At that time, although I was stronger than my clan, I was still not a match for the demon monarch and was captured by the demon shadow palace. They asked my father to give me the most precious treasure of the phoenix race, the silver phoenix zither, in exchange, but my father refused without a word. He also told the demon race to kill me, a silver phoenix. It was also that year that I met Luo Qingxian for the first time. She wore a dark red robe, the drunken dreams sword in her hand flashing with light. I thought she was going to cut my throat with her sword, but I didn't expect her to untie me. She said to me coldly, "Your father isn't willing to use a broken zither to exchange for you, but I can help you get that zither as your divine weapon. What are the conditions?" I was shocked. Before this, I always thought that the demon race was cruel. I did not know that the truly cruel ones were my brothers and sisters, as well as those righteous people who pretended to be cruel. Of course, this included my father. She seemed to think for a long time, but in the end, she just smiled. "I want you to stay in the Demon Shadow Palace and accompany me." At that time, Luo Qingshan did not know, but her calm words stunned me for a long time. A few days later, she walked in front of me, covered in blood, and handed the silver phoenix zither to me. Now I know what it means to miss a lifetime with a single glance. Later on, I couldn't tell if it was because I liked her or because she moved me. I only knew that I was willing to stay in the Demon Shadow Palace and stay by her side for the rest of my life. Or even 2 lifetimes. That was what I thought at the time. But the world is unpredictable. I didn't expect her to accidentally fall into the lower realm. I immediately rushed to the lower realm to protect her. Actually, she didn't know that I was the one who saved her in the beginning. I used half of my cultivation to stabilize her injuries and protect her primordial spirit. Who would have thought that he would be replaced by Yi Jihan in the end? I could see in his eyes that his feelings for her were not pure. He might even be doing this for a certain purpose, but she didn't think so. In the end, after returning from the lower realm, the palace master wanted to arrange her marriage. At that time, the demon race and the god race were at odds, and the Wu people were in the middle. In order to rope in this middle, the palace master decided to let her choose a husband. She just glanced at them and chose Yi Jihan in the end. Chapter 1185. I will never forget the day she got married. The 4 seas were peaceful and the heavens admired her. Some people envied her and some envied Yi Jihan. In short, in the eyes of the demons and the Wu people, she and Yi Jihan were a golden couple, a pair that everyone praised. And on that day, I resolutely decided to snatch the bride. I didn't care about anything, even if my primordial spirit scattered. But it was like the heavens wanted me dead, and I lost in the end. After all, I was only a single person, and I couldn't fight the entire Wu people by myself. But I really wasn't willing to let her marry this kind of man. If she chose a good man, I would just drink my sorrow and silently bless them. But Yi Jihan was just using her. I knew why Yi Jihan wanted to marry her, and I knew his relationship with Xia and Mo Xing. I thought that they would at most chase her back to the Demon Shadow Palace, but I never thought that they would try to kill her. I only heard about the matter of Ji Fu later. She had already left the Demon Shadow Palace at that time. When I killed my way into the Wu people, those elders said that she wasn't at death's door at all. Not only that, she had personally destroyed Yi Jihan's cultivation during Yi Jihan and Xia and Mo Xing's wedding. I heard that she was invincible at that time. I heard that she was cold and decisive. I heard that she was very close to him at that time. I didn't know how much of those elders' words could be believed, but I knew that they must have bullied her. Since they bullied her, there was no need for them to live in this world. In the end, I led a large group of demons to eradicate the Wu people, but I didn't see Yi Jihan among them. The last survivor told me that he went to the disturbed love sect. I hesitated for 3 seconds before deciding to head to the disturbed love sect without stopping. It wasn't for anything. I just wanted to take Yi Jihan's head. Even if I die with him and go to hell together, it doesn't matter. But I can't let him live in this world. But I didn't expect that when I was about to fight to the death with this group of hypocritical leisure people, she would appear. She stood firmly beside me, giving off a completely different aura. He narrowed his eyes slightly, and his every movement was filled with absolute killing intent. I suddenly felt that this version of her was very unfamiliar. Yet, I couldn't help but want to get close to her. Just like that night, she used a tone I had never heard before to compete with me on the piano. At that time, my blood was boiling in the depths of my heart. This was the first time in my life that I felt like I had met my match. What surprised me even more was that she had a faint smile on her face as she looked at me and called out, "Brother Limitless." I've never heard her call me that before. There are a lot of people who like me in the Demon's Shadow Palace, but I never gave him a chance. Because I've been waiting for a look back. I want an answer. As long as she said it herself, I would give up. But she told me that she wasn't the person I liked. I was a bit doubtful, but I believed her without hesitation. That night, we talked a lot. She was different from before. She was a bit more playful and a bit more cute. She wasn't as taciturn as before, her words that made people speechless. I gradually had a very strange feeling that had nothing to do with gratitude.